Well, hello, San Diego. Welcome into another edition of Gwynn and Chris, minus Chris, who has departed for the next couple of weeks, enjoying a little vacay, a little downtime for Mr. L.O. Skraby, we are in a Chris L.O. free zone for the next 2 weeks, it sounds like.
You're going to hear me do that a couple times today.
I thought that was a perfect time for you to drop a round of applause, but I do realize that you are not on the board. That is reserved for our guy, Mr. Klug, who probably is feeling pretty good about himself today. The sorry Atlanta Falcons found a way to
Sorry.
Did something happen last night, Tony?
They found a way to get a victory because of a drop pass, but I give Mr. Cousins a lot of credit. He looked good on that last drive, and I'm sure you're feeling pretty good about yourself there, buddy.
I'm feeling great. Never better.
I mean, he stopped me, and he stopped me. I'm probably going to say this a couple times today, but he stopped me on the way in today, and he said, "You're not going to congratulate me about the Falcons winning?" And I said, "I did last night." But, Falcons fans are just on top of the world right now.
Yeah, they're feeling pretty good. Dolphin fans are not. Padre fans are, though. Padres get a nice victory against a quality ball club. It was a playoff-like game. I don't know if it was a playoff-like atmosphere, but it was a playoff-like game last night, and we got a chance to see Yu Darvish pitch at a level that I don't know that we've seen him pitch in a little bit of time. I thought he was very impressive. He once again stayed away from the slider. He sprinkled a few of them in there, but just a really dominant performance by him. Another, dominant performance by I shouldn't say dominant performance by the bullpen because they did have a little slip up there with Tanner Scott. But all in all, they get the victory. They gain another game or away, I should say, from the Arizona Diamondbacks, who now sit 2.5 behind the Padres as we now have 11 to play in the season. So offensively, again, Padres, they took care of business, man. Manny now officially has 100 RBIs on the season after they went back and changed the one that, wasn't given to him last night, given to him today. So he's reached the century mark. Jerickson Profar, for all the worry warts out there, seemingly since the road trip, starting to swing the bat better, 4 for 4 with a big insurance piece last night. So, yeah, man, Padres, I told you guys this a couple weeks ago. I'm as confident in this team as I've been in any team that we've seen from at least in my time here. And this is shaping up at least to be, one of the better seasons these guys have put together in a little bit of time.
Real quick, how high did Jerickson Profar toss his bat after that home run? Because on TV, it looked like a pretty mighty bat flip.
You know what, Skrabe? I'm going to be honest, man. Never saw the bat flip because I was watching the ball land into the seats.
That's fair enough.
Bat flips are, everybody's doing them now. So they don't really stand out to me like they used to. But I was just more enjoying Jerickson's at bats yesterday. I mean, up the middle, the other way, pull side power. I mean, bullets on the ground. Like he swung the bat like we've seen him swing it for most of the season. Jackson Merrill goes big fly up top, big part of the field. Padres are just, they're clicking, man. They really are. They're playing some good baseball. You got a good, and listen, the bottom of the lineup really wasn't even a factor like they normally are in these games. It was the big dogs doing, big things.
I think I heard you say on Sunday that the superstars know what time of the year it is. Yeah. And it definitely seems like they do because everybody is hitting on all cylinders right now. And I got to think, a healthy Yu Darvish after, he unfortunately had to miss most of the year due to family things, but him coming back and being fresh has to be huge for this team going down into the playoffs.
Yeah, that can't be overlooked because although he had to miss some times due to some family things that were going on, or private things he was going on, I should say, I think it can't be overlooked that he had that rest. Like he wasn't having to shoulder the load. So, if he's healthy, he's also fresh at this point, and probably fresher than he's ever been this late in the season. So I think this is and you start to see that come to fruition in the way he threw the baseball yesterday. What else? I hope people's nerves were calmed a little bit last night. Mr. Suarez came in and had a uneventful ninth inning, which is how you want all your closers to have outings. Little hiccup, as I mentioned, with Tanner Scott. He gave up a run in his inning of work, but all in all, there's really not a lot to complain or not be happy with this ball club.
No. The only thing.
By the way, could you send me the camera link?
Okay, we should talk about that. We're having trouble with StreamYard here. We can't get logged in. So if you're watching on YouTube, which you can, just search 97.3 The Fan on YouTube and watch the live show. We will be on camera as soon as possible. But
I got you.
Luis Ariz, he had unfortunately his streak ended, but he did kind of sort of bump his knee to the point where he had to come out of the game. So hopefully.
He jammed his knee into the dirt.
You're right. He did. I don't know why I say kind of, sort of.
That could have. I mean, watching it in replay. I mean, that could have been bad. Like he could have. That could have been a groin because his knee got stuck and you kind of saw it kind of get stretched there. Kind of catapult himself. That was. That didn't look fun.
No, but he's a gamer, so he's gonna want to play. But like those types of injuries, are they gonna linger with him for a while? I mean, does he need to maybe take a couple days off? Do they need to start pacing themselves for the playoffs?
I don't think. First of all, I'm pretty sure he's not gonna want to take a day off.
I know he's a gamer.
He's until this is like a done deal. I don't see anybody taking a day off at this point. You're in stretch run, 2 weeks to go. Less than that now. 2 off days mixed in there. I think he's going to ride this out. He said after the game he's going to be all right. I shot him a text. He thinks he'll be all right. He said we'll find out a little bit more tomorrow. But, yeah, man, I think the other story is his streak was broken last night.
Yeah, that's a bummer, but still pretty impressive. Really impressive. Really impressive.
And it took some – I mean – Arrighetti, the pitches he threw, that last slider he threw him was filthy. I mean, that was a good one. But yeah, man, Padres take the win. The back in action here tonight. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. I believe Hunter Brown on the mound for the Astros. Young rookie who has had a really good season in improving from his last year. Although in his last outing he got banged around a little bit. So Padres hoping to take a little bit of advantage of that.
So Robert Suarez, let's just go there. So he had 8 pitches last night. He threw 8 pitches last night, and like you said, a pretty uneventful evening. And I put up a tweet that was met with a response of, "Hey, you were just panicking earlier in the day," and I would like to say. I was not panicking.
A little bit?
I was not panicking. I was just saying that the last couple of outings for Robert Suarez haven't been Robert Suarez-esque, and this is the reason that I am not a major league umpire manager, because I am too emotional. And Mike Schilt told us all many times this year throughout struggles of Robert Suarez, he's the team's closer. He's going to stay the team's closer, and I'm glad that he is as level-headed as he is, because I got to think that if he were to go to Tanner Scott last night as a closer, that just would create bad mojo within the team. It shows that you don't have any faith in your player. And time and time again this year, Mike Schilt has stood behind his player, and he has taken their back no matter how crazy it makes them look. And I appreciate that about him, because he's able to guide this team through storms and stay on course.
Yeah. I think at this point, Mike Schilt has earned our grace in terms of making decisions. He's been pretty good with the decisions. Now, he might not tell us anything when guys are hurt or banged up and, we want a little more info. He might not give it. In terms of actually making moves as it pertains to his bullpen and lineup, he's been pretty spot on, like all season. So I think he deserves it. In terms of Robert Suarez, he threw 2 different pitches yesterday, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did.
He threw 5 four-seam fastballs, and he threw 3 sinkers. So, there was a little diversity. They're all hard, though. 99 was his average.
Here, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. but they're going to just be sitting on high-speed stuff. Like, come on. He's going to get hit at some point.
That is so easy to do, just to sit on high-speed stuff that is doing different things. Yeah, of course, that's exactly how it's going to happen.
I even had someone quote spin rates in my DM the other day.
What was that?
It was just like his spin rates, and then I looked at him. I'm like, the spin rates are fine. What are you talking about? I think people are just grabbing at anything out there to trying to say that he needs one more pitch. I don't know. Here's what I don't know, and I brought this up yesterday. Yes, I put the tweet out. Yes, that his stats weren't good.
Yeah, this is all your fault, by the way.
It was a misrepresented tweet that I sent out, and I admitted that yesterday. But in the end, I got to believe in Robert Suarez knows what he's doing. I got to believe in this team knows that he can throw these pitches and be fine. Because if they didn't think that, they would be trying to introduce something else into his arsenal because they didn't think he was able to get guys out. He's still getting guys out. He's still, lately he's been allowing some runs. But I still feel good about Robert Suarez on the mound, for sure.
Good.
Even though I didn't say that yesterday. Even though I said yesterday I was,
I'm happy
worried.
That you feel good about Robert Suarez. That's good.
Do you think he'll pitch better because I do?
No, I don't think it really. I don't think it really matters at all how you feel. But that's just how it is.
There was go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say Mets win, Braves lose.
Yes.
Ha ha! I know that one right there, Adam. Unfortunately, everybody doesn't win in Atlanta.
Adam's like,
hey, man, go Padres.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
You gotta play the Go Padre card on me, huh?
The crazy thing about that game was the Dodgers scored 9 runs with only 4 hits.
Yeah.
That's
wild. Kind of crazy.
I'm assuming there's some homers in there.
And why were they playing on a Monday when?
So it's a wraparound series. We had one too.
That's right. I remember now. Sorry, I can't call it what I originally called it.
Yeah, you got to stay away from that.
Yeah, I can't. I got to stay away from that.
So again, the Padres, create some separation. Remember, the Padres will finish the week, or not finish this week. Finish the season in L.A. and in Arizona. So as much cushion as you can have going into that, quite frankly, you got these 2 games here, and then you got the White Sox coming in. These 2 are going to probably be similar to the game last night, but you got to get your boogie on when the White Sox come to town.
I gotta say that makes me nervous. That team coming to town because
That's because you're a San Diegan. Of course, it makes you nervous.
But they have not played good. I guess this year is an outlier. This year's an outlier.
They played better here as of late.
I was going to say against bad teams, but as of late, they've been doing. I got to throw all of the preconceived notions I had coming into this year out the window because this team is not any of those things that we had last year.
I'm glad you said that, Skraby. That's a great point. If you've been paying attention to this team at all this year, you should feel comfortable because they have shown you pretty consistently who they are. And I don't know that there has been a time, at least recently, where you could say that about the Padres. They've been consistent in the right kind of ways from beginning to this point. All right, let's get to break. Obviously, with the Astros in town, they have a player that was once a big part of this ball club. Josh Hader spoke to the media yesterday. We'll get into it a little bit here on Gwynn and Chris. Sit back, have some fun. We're Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Are you tired?
good Padre fans. Tune in to the last episode, our last edition of the Roundtable this Thursday.
What's going on? Is there something happening?
It's just the last one. I want to make sure everybody gets their feel of it. It's the last one you're going to see until next season. So
kind of sad about that.
Well, I hope.
Oh,
I mean,
this idea is here to stay. This idea.
I know it's going to be back next season, but I think it's the last episode of
It's
this
just Tony's last one. They'll be on the road next Thursday in L.A.
Oh. Sorry.
Just Tony's last episode.
It's Tony's world. We're just living in it.
Sorry, everybody.
Two more roundtables.
Make sure you tune in Thursday, though.
There you go.
Same bad time, same bad channel, 10 o'clock.
There you go.
Where was it go? Oh, Josh Hader. Came back, first time back in the ball yard since signing with the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros.
Or the Houston, if we're going to say in Chris's
Houston
flavor.
Astros. He's had a good season after a rocky start to his year. He's back doing Josh Hader-like things, and I know this is going to really get under some folks' skins. And he's done it more than 3 outs multiple times this year.
Yeah, Chandler Rome told us yesterday. He said much at the behest of your fans.
Yeah, I know, man. He's a man of his word. He stood on all 10 toes when he said, "Listen, until I get the bag and security, there will be no more saves with more than 3 outs." And he stood on that. He got his bag. Now, guess what? He's open to going longer in games. And as a businessman, you can't be mad at that. That is certainly his right. He exercised it to perfection. Now, as a fan, you certainly have the right to feel the way about that, and most of y'all do. So, here's what his quoted as saying when he was speaking with the media. Obviously, a lot of people think the 23 year where I didn't go multiple innings put a damper on their perspective on me and the hard work. Hader said Monday afternoon in front of his locker in the visiting clubhouse. But at the end of the day, I put in everything I had, gave the team every effort I could put us in a position to make the playoffs. But again, it's a team sport. So at the end of the day, if they think it falls on me, that's just what it is. I've always appreciated these fans, the way they showed up each and every day. Whatever outlook they have of me, they can have it, right? I think at the end of the day, we made great memories. We beat a team in 2022 that a lot of people didn't think we would beat. We got really far in the postseason. Obviously, we didn't go to the World Series like we wanted, but, that's baseball. It's going to happen. For me personally, I gave it all my effort. Skraby.
As the resident Josh Hader guy
who's
made some jokes already this
Josh
year.
Hader hater. How do you feel about that?
Well, first, he helped me win a second fantasy title, so I can't hate him too much. He got me to the end. There's something that everybody knows about me, and when people disarm me, I end up taking it easy. Not easy on them, but I end up
a softer stance.
And it's true that it's like that here, because at the end of the day, he did help the Padres do some great things and had some great memories. The NLDS against the Dodgers was amazing. Last year, I think he just got caught up in a year where they weren't good and they were supposed to be good. And then you hear this thing where I don't want to pitch more than 1 inning. And then you're like, well, these guys are doing all this and you're sitting over there while they're losing. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But he disarmed me in the way that he looks back on it saying, I can understand their perspective. And when you can understand someone's perspective, it makes me think that person is a lot more caring, I guess, about the people that they're talking to.
It's both things can be true in this situation. Both things are usually true. Fans, certainly as fans of the ball club, can feel like, what is going on? How don't you want to go out and win for your team? But on the flip side of that, a guy who was burned by going out and pitching in multiple innings and then being told, well, you're not really a closer, man. You're pitching in the 8th. You're coming in, and
you're just a middle reliever.
I could totally get why he took the stance that he took, and I don't. And the thing is also important to remember, because you bring up a great point, Skraby. He kind of got caught up in the fact that the team wasn't living up to expectation, because that also remained true in 22. Many people were just willing to kind of brush it under the rug because they got as far as they got, right?
Yep.
And the final out didn't or the final blow in that year didn't end up having to do with him, which started the conversation, I think, leading into 23. But nonetheless, I thought it was interesting that he addressed that kind of head on the way he did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at this point he had heard. I'm sure by the end of last year he had probably heard enough of it to understand where everybody was at with it. And so in the first opportunity he got back in Petco, he addressed it. I give him some credit. I give him a lot of credit for that.
I do too. And the one thing that I didn't like last year more than anything is at the end of the year when they asked him, what are you doing? They didn't ask him this question, but it was kind of like, what are you doing to help the team? And he said, well, we're not in a playoff race, are we? And it was like, yeah, they actually mathematically are in a playoff race. That stuff bothers me because why are you taking it out on us, Mr. Josh Hader? We didn't do anything. I think
it's important to remember to keep in mind that athletes, especially in the moment when they're being pressed like he was in that, they don't always give the right answer that they should get. And a lot of times the answer is an emotional answer, right? That sounded, when I read that, I remember reading that sounded like kind of like it was like a pop back almost. Like, oh, I mean, are we in a playoff race right now? Not really thinking about exactly, what he was inferring at that point. Because the Padres weren't mathematically out of it, by the way, at that point. But, nonetheless, I mean, it was you knew it was going to be a subject when he came. He addressed it head on. He's actually, after a rough start to the beginning of the year, a part of the reason why the Astros are back where they're at. Go ahead, Scrant.
Well, because I think players are going to try to take advantage of this in the future because it worked for Josh Hader. But, I guess I kind of tie it to my dating life. For a long time, I put previous insecurities.
Should we be comparing anything to your dating life, honestly?
Not really, no. I mean, it's not a great thing, but what I'm trying to say is Josh Hader was spurned by his former lover, the Brewers, and he took those bad memories with him to the Padres. And what I'm trying to say is,
you definitely do this.
My therapist has really tried to get me to go into each relationship that I have anew. And that's Josh Hader did not do. He carried the baggage from the Brewers to the Padres. And I know we're talking about love life and money and lots and lots and lots of money.
There's a big difference there, buddy.
There is, but when you say he's a businessman, to me, he's an athlete. He's not a businessman.
Nah, bruh. He is literally a walking business.
But he's an athlete who makes a lot of money playing his sport. He's not. It's not Josh Hader. No one's coming in to buy Josh Hader candles or anything like that.
Yes, actually, there are teams coming in to buy Josh Hader candles. The Brewers traded the candle to the Padres. He became a free agent, and a team in the Houston Astros came to buy the Josh Hader product.
Fine.
Skraby, do you consider Taylor Swift a businesswoman or just an entertainer?
An artist.
Wow. She's both. Definitely both, because she probably makes more money outside of her entertainment than she does. She probably makes more money doing business deals than she does for performing on stage.
Josh Hader's not a businessman. He's a
business man.
For his he's a business for his family. To me, he's an athlete.
He's a business, regardless. I mean, he's a business, regardless, whether it's for his family or whoever. He's a business.
All right, well, now I've taken the turn on Josh Hader.
Here's what I will say. It's not – everybody's different. Jamar Chase, good example. He could be sitting out right now. Instead, he's out playing. So it's not a one case – it's not a one-size-fits-all type of deal. In his case, he was spurned bad enough to where he was like, I am not going to let any other team take advantage of me. Jamar Chase got down to the wire. He could decide I'm not playing or I'm going to play a certain amount of snaps. He could decide anything. What did he decide? He decided,
you know what? He play for his team.
I want to play. I want to play. Whether it's for his team or not, he decided I love the game enough. I want to play. It's it's not just for him. It wasn't just about that, because if it was, he'd be sitting out like my man for the Jets is doing right now.
Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick. So, like, it's – I know you'll look at Josh and a lot of people be like, oh, see, this is what athletes are going to do. Every athlete doesn't choose that road. And,
right.
you know, that's perfectly fine, in my opinion.
I'm getting crushed on the chat right now, so I don't get you people sometimes. Sometimes I will make the Josh Hader joke. You will laugh at the Josh Hader joke, but then when I say something bad about Josh Hader, you're like, hey, that's too far, man. Too far, man.
Look at Skrabe in his feelings right now.
Bad take, man. Pump the brakes, Skrabe. Don't bite it, Skrabe. Skraby, come on. And Reed, my name is not spelled Skrabey. It's Skrabe as in boy.
Look at him being petty right now, pointing out the discrepancies in the spelling of his name.
That's the only time I do that, is when I'm going
petty
down the rabbit hole.
That's why I'm starting to call you Petty Skrabe. All right, let's get to break. We got a special guest when we return. I'm going to keep it a special guest.
Okay.
You've heard his sultry voice before. You'll get it again on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris. guys a special guest, and we'll get to him. But first, the last topic kind of sparked the interest of our next caller, John, calling in on the Josh Hader situation. John, first, thank you for giving us a phone call. What's on your mind?
Hey, Tony and Skraby, thanks so much to all three of you, actually, for the opportunity to chime in a little bit here.
Of course.
Like both of you, I definitely appreciate that Hader addressed kind of the elephant in the room there. And he made some good points, and I understand he's a businessman as well as an athlete. But when he said that he gave it his all, that really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because he did not give it his all. He purposely held back because he was in a contract year and making that stand, putting that stake in the ground. And frankly, as we have seen, for a number of factors, not just because Hader went on his way, but a team is better off when you don't have people that are taking these kinds of stands and not putting the team first. So I know he's had a bounce back after the rough beginning this year. He's a very good relief pitcher. I understand his talent, but I don't want those kind of people on my team. So bye-bye, and let's not have those kinds of people again in a contract year who are going to make those kinds of stands, because it does not help the team.
It's not a bad point, John.
John brings up some fantastic, great call, John, by the way. I think that is the argument that can be had, right? I certainly can take umbrage with the wording he used in terms of giving it his all, because you can certainly make the case that that can't be possible if you were purposely, for your own good reasons, holding back in terms of not going more than 3. It's then tough to convince a fan base that you were giving your all when we now see that you got more than 3 in you. And I think we all kind of knew that, but we also understood, or at least some of us understood, for business purposes, you weren't gonna activate the beyond 3 mode, and that's fine. But then it's tough to say that you gave it your all. I think the other point that John makes is valid. Is probably the more important point of it all. How does that mindset affect the team as a whole? Because ultimately, even though it's not being talked about or said inside the locker, everyone knows what's up. They know when they get to a 2-run game or a 1-run game for that matter, and the team has been struggling to close out games, and they know they can go out and bring you in right now in the 8th. 2 outs, 1 out, no outs. But they couldn't. How does that then sit? How does that resonate with the rest of the ball club? And
it
I
would
think
make
that's
me resentful, to be honest.
I think there's a natural tendency for I'm not saying that was the case, but you wouldn't blame anybody for being resentful, down the line. I think, it's a long season, right? 162. You may not pay any attention to it from April to June. But July, August start rolling around. You've seen it a few opportunities be passed over. And you add in the ingredient that the team is not necessarily playing at the level that they should play. That's an ingredient added in there. Yeah, man, I can see some people feeling some type of way about it. And so I thought the 2 points John made were the 2 points that should be made in this whole back and forth.
I will say, though, that we kind of have to throw his rules out the window because the Padres knew that was the deal when he came to the team.
1,000%.
So if you're willing to accept that part of the deal, then what can we really complain about? Because that was known, and they still said, okay, we want him on our team. And that's probably why he came so cheap, right?
I know for a fact that was communicated.
Yes.
That was something that they were walking into. And you know what? The Padres made the deal anyway. They needed the arm.
Yeah.
They needed it drastically. And, it was a gamble worth taking at that time. You can make the argument that gamble helped them get to an NLCS. Unfortunately, when, that following year came and expectations weren't being met, this was just thrown into the pot of things that weren't going right for the Padres. So
yeah, losing a clubhouse last year, like that clubhouse in the second part of the year where they're supposed to make the playoffs, have a deep run, and they didn't. That's not a great place to begin with. A lot of guys are just not very happy with where their season's at.
I think Cronenworth kind of hit on it a little bit yesterday, or maybe the day before, when they were talking about what's changed and these these one-run ball games that went from them barely being able, I think, winning a couple at the very, very end of the season versus being, 9-1 right now in those same situations. I think the thing he said was, we're not like trying to make things happen. All this stuff gets thrown into that 2023 pot where you can see them almost every time trying to make it happen, and it just seemingly going the opposite direction. So, good phone call, John. Thank you for participating. All right, now without further ado,
we have the Open.
You've heard his name. You've heard his voice. You've seen him on social media. He's the man, the myth, the legend. It's time to get to know Dave on 97.3 The Fan.
Yes, that is right. Dave Marcus joins us for the first time in 2024. Mr. Marcus, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, guys. But, every day I sit here with my headphones, my mic ready to go, just waiting for you to call me in. And here we are finally on September 17th. I'm ready to go. Thanks for having me.
Skrabe, apparently he's been waiting all year long to join our show.
That's really funny because I do remember us having multiple conversations about having Dave come back for a segment.
We literally were in negotiations with this guy at the beginning of the season.
We were.
And he basically cut us off at the head.
You know what Dave did? He Josh Hadered us. He said he's not going to come in for a 5-out save. That's exactly what happened. But no, I'm so happy to have Dave back today.
Glad to be here, guys. Thanks for asking me.
Can I first ask you, as you know, what season is this for you now?
31.
31st season.
No ambition.
Yeah, you haven't moved up, Dave.
31st season. How fun has this year been for you so far?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, watching a winning team is a long time ago. Someone asked who's the best broadcaster, and the guy said, I'm not sure who he is, but he works for a winning team. Probably that's kind of you could probably agree with that, Tony. Being around a winning club is obviously more fun, and like the last 4 years, we've had teams in contention or in the playoffs. So this year they've kind of got over that hump they didn't get over last year, and here we are. 11 games ago, whatever it is, and right in the thick of things. So it's always, being part of pennant race is always fun. Just the excitement of the ballpark, the fans, scoreboard watching. Not knowing how this book is going to end is always kind of a fun season to have. It beats the alternative, obviously, but it's been a lot of fun. To answer the question, yes. We're ready to go for a lot more, hopefully.
Now, I have many questions for you, Dave. I'm going to get to a question about going to Korea in just a second, but last year, or 2 years ago, I was very fortunate to basically have Dave's spot in the clubhouse as the team was celebrating wins, like the making the playoffs as well as the NLDS win. If they win, they have these celebrations this year. Are you going to be making your way down to the clubhouse for this one?
No, I'll be up here. I got to organize things up here and play traffic cop between what's going on here when you guys in the clubhouse, and hopefully Tommy down there again as well, like with you. And did a great job last year. Those 3 clinches we had in 2022, 2 here and 1 in City Field in New York. So it'd be fun to be down there. It looks a lot of fun. Over the years, the 96, 98, 05, 06, I've always been 2022. I've always been up here kind of watching from afar, just making sure we get a good post-game show, get all the interviews on the air. We need to get on the air and for the fans to enjoy it.
I tell you what, guys, for a guy that usually needs a plan and it needs to be mapped out, he worked really good on his feet in those situations you're talking about, where we're running down to the clubhouse. He's got to make sure it's all queued up. That's probably the most relaxed I've seen him in those type of situations ever. So kudos to him for that. I expect the same thing. Now, here's a better question. Have we had any kerfuffles this year as it pertains to travel? Has it all worked out the way that you would want it to work out?
Well, we started the season on the road in Seoul, South Korea, which is a wonderful trip, and so I was kind of nervous going over there. I've been in Mexico, we've done games there, and I can at least speak some Spanish and get through that. But whole new culture, whole new language. So we had those 4 games in Korea, so I went there to the ballpark before the first game. We had a workout day to set things up, and I knew Korea has different outlets, electro outlets, different voltage, and so I had my converters.
Wow.
My converters, my adapters, my tin foil in case I needed just whatever it was going to take. So I get in the booth, I'm ready to go, and like plug the first thing in. All right, got my adapter, my converter, plug in, and all of a sudden all the lights dimmed.
Oh no.
So that outlet was shot. So like, well, let's try another outlet over here in the other part of the booth. Number 2, same thing.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh, this isn't going very good. This is I'm like, what's going wrong? I like double checked everything, the settings, everything's good. Then I said, well, it's 3rd time's a charm, right? So let's try one more. Same thing happened.
This guy's just blowing out all the outlets.
As Tony remembers, we shared our booth with a bunch of other stuff in the ballpark. They control like the rotating advertisement signs you see in the ballpark.
That's hilarious.
So I blew that whole thing out as well.
What? You blew the advertising signs out? That's great.
Yeah. So again, this is the day for the first game. So at least we weren't playing that day. So I'm like, all right, how do I communicate to the people in the ballpark who don't speak any English what I had done here? And I'm like trying to do I draw a picture? Do I use hand signals?
Google Translate?
Yeah, right, Google Translate, but so luckily I found the electrician. He came up, gave me a couple dirty looks like silly American probably. And, but he was very nice about it, probably. And we got it fixed, tried another power strip basically, and we got on the air, and the rest of the series I did not unplug anything or turn anything off the entire rest of that week, and we stayed on the air luckily, but it was that first day a little bit touch and go, a little bit nervous.
I will say, in Dave's defense, it was best that Jesse and I weren't there when it happened, because if that kind of stuff happens around us, we aren't going to be helpful. We are going to make we're going to make fun of the situation.
I've been there.
That's typically you've experienced this
and
before.
It's like, hey guys, we're melting down right now, and you want to make jokes. Is that what's happening?
That's exactly how it's going down. And here's the funny part.
I know.
He wasn't going to tell us this. We actually found out from Scan. He actually told us because he was there as all this stuff was happening. And so, I think it was his plan to try to kind of just skate by without actually telling us. But we had the information. The moment Jesse and I walked in the next day, we were fully loaded, ready to go.
Furthermore, hi guys.
Hello, Jesse.
Furthermore, he
my
is
gun?
completely. Yeah, you could have turned me off. You missed your shot. He is completely underselling what happened. He's saying, I knocked out this one computer that we shared the booth with. He knocked out the power in the entire press level of the Go Chuck Sky Dome. It was not just our booth. It was not just one computer. The lights went out in the entire press level.
This is why I don't tell them anything.
Of this
Jesse Embellishment Agler.
That came from Bob Scanlon, who was on the field, looked up, saw sparks and darkness.
That is scary.
As you can imagine, he probably didn't. He definitely wasn't going to tell us. So we had the information the following day. And he's not lying. I don't know who the gentleman was in the room. He definitely was giving us dirty looks the entire series, and I'm pretty sure it's because his whole system got shut down at some point during that series.
You know what Brandon said on the chat right now? The Dodgers radio producer would never.
Well, he didn't show up, by the way. Dodgers radio.
That's right. They didn't show up.
Right,
they
and
didn't show up.
Dave has a comeback. Now, Dave, I just want to tell everybody on YouTube, that's Dave up top. He looks like Wilson from Home Improvement, but he's not.
I tried to slide my computer back so it just wasn't like the tip of his forehead.
This is very impromptu, so that's why we don't have Dave with the camera or Jesse with the camera. But I love it because the equipment, when I was a traveling conference guy, I used to have to take all the equipment with me everywhere. And one time, I don't know, Dave, if you had to lug it around the world, because one time I had to go on the London Tube with 4 boxes, and I just ended up leaving them and started kicking them because I was so angry, and that's not a joke. So I'm hoping they took care of you, Dave.
They do, but speaking of Korea, I almost did that because of weird, getaway day, the last game, we're flying back to San Diego right after the game, and then usually it's an hour bus. It was a half-hour bus, so I packed my stuff up on my little dolly, got to the elevator I've been using all week. We've been there, this nice young lady is in front of the elevator saying, like waving her head, like, no, like you can't go in this elevator. I'm like, what do you mean I can't? I have to get. I'm like, I'm pantomiming like an airplane, putting both my arms out to my side like an airplane. I have to go to the airplane. You know, I have to go down, and she's not understanding a word I'm saying. She doesn't speak any English, and it was very. You want to talk about stressful? That was like, no one's ever said on a Padre chart, any Major League Baseball team charter bus, where's the radio guy? No one's ever said that. Wait, he's not here. We gotta wait for him. Never been spoken across America in any sport. Trust me. So I needed to get to this, and luckily someone came by and showed me another elevator I could go to, and I wanted to get to my stuff down and like made the bus by like 5 minutes or so. But it was a little bit stressful, yeah. So I almost left my stuff there, Matt, like you were saying about the in London for you. Like
he was prepared to leave it all.
Yeah, I got to get it back. I don't for the equipment. As long as I get back.
I mean, yeah, you're stuck in Korea if they take off without you.
Right.
You know what's funny is that Dave, in the same way that you guys have seen my head beat up of sweat when I'm eating spicy food, when he gets into those situations, he gets the same type of reaction.
No, Adam has got like a stomach and mouth of steel, but Dave gets those reactions. We all get those reactions for different things, but Dave and I have a similar reaction, which anxiety makes me sweat a lot.
No doubt about it. Dave, as always, man, appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, giving us some laughs.
You know,
I'm ready to go tomorrow, to let me know.
Okay, all right. The listeners say maybe we need a get to know Jesse segment.
Oh, I don't know if that one's gonna happen.
Okay. I will still ask again in person next time.
I'm sure you will. All right, let's get to break. Daily Gambit on the other side. Top of the hour ahead. Welcome to the 3 o'clock hour. 3:01 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby, Chris Ello out on vacay, enjoying himself somewhere in the world. I don't know exactly where he went. And nor do I know, but I don't know if he wants us telling anybody where he went.
I think he already said, actually.
Did he already explain
Yeah,
it?
It's like a cruise through the Northeast.
There you go. Cruising through the Northeast.
In September.
Mr. Ello, Mr. and Mrs. Ello out for the next couple of weeks. So you get a full dose of Skraby and I, perhaps a little Adam Klug sprinkled in there. Get a little Dave Marcus occasionally.
We're going to have to get more Jesse on there.
We'll get some more Jesse on. We'll try to do our best to keep you guys entertained.
Pull out all the stops while Chris is gone.
I wish Chris was here. There was an article that just came out about war and how it's taking over like the MVP voting.
Oh, no.
And I thought of him the whole time I was reading the article. And how much he probably would be irritated reading reading it a little
I'm
bit.
irritated. Remember, I declared war on war.
You did declare war on war. You
It's
definitely
just,
did.
Awards should not be given out. The most valuable player award is not actually the most valuable player anymore. It's the one with the highest war.
Jeff Passan has another article about the White Sox and talking about their year. Just talking about, at least some of it's about the kind of sense of humor you got to have in order to kind of get through. And I think it's a good article from the standpoint of, you guys have heard me talk about how difficult it probably is showing up to the field every day knowing that you're going to probably lose. You pretty much have to have a sense of humor in order to get through a season in which you have a chance to set a record for the all-time losses. So
I give him credit for it because, just being a guy sitting here thinking about what it's like in their building, it's got to be so depressing. But
oh my gosh,
the article was right though. You have to be laughing in there. Try to do something.
It's not just that it's depressing. You're having to answer questions about this every day, and Chicago ain't the lightest of media friends. They definitely are on the harder side in terms of media and how they kind of approach it. So
yeah, I saw a tweet yesterday from someone who had a picture of the White Sox playing at home to the Angels, and they said, "Shout out to these baseball fans for going to an Angels White Sox game on Monday night."
No kidding. I mean, you love your teams if you're at that game Monday night for sure, and nobody can tell you different.
Monday night when they've only won 35 games this year, they have no chance.
It's a heck of a thing they got going. We'll have a little NIL discussion a little later on in our Big Five school out there, coming up with a unique way to kind of get some of this NIL. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now, no bets today, but we do have a recap of our Daily Gambit.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is a mortal lock.
Washington! Woohoo!
If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in the Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit's our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. I just accidentally turned up my headphones to the Chris level, and I can now hear nothing but ringing in my ears because he has them so high.
How did you accidentally turn the knob?
I went over there to turn it up slightly, and it jumped on me. Apparently this knob, because it has to go all the way to the end anyway. Yeah, interesting. No one really cares about that. We're gonna talk about some of the fun bets here after we review what we did last night. And we started with the Eagles and the Falcons over under 45.5 total points in the game. Both Chris and I went over, and it finished just under at 43 points. So we lose that one. Who had more rushing and receiving yards combined, Bijan Robinson or Saquon Barkley? I said yesterday Bijan Robinson needs to prove it to me. He proved it to me. He's a good running back, and he had more than Saquon.
More importantly, did he prove it to Mr. Klug there?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Been a little bit of a
we did
doubter
talk
of
about Bijan before the show. Prove that he's a legit running back.
When did I ever say he's not a legit running back?
We're just asking if he proved it to you. That's all. We never said you said
I was
it.
against using a top 10 pick on a running back because I think it's the least valuable position in football, but I think he's a really good player.
Okay, I can get behind that. I can. I mean, running backs are...
You got some wavering over there from the Atlanta Falcons fan.
No wavering?
No wavering? All right, Bijan or Saquon, who had more rushing and receiving yards combined? Bijan had 123. Saquon had 116. Both of us chose Saquon, so we were both wrong. And yes, Bijan got the dub. Yes, he did. And Saquon had one really, really terrible drop pass.
Yes, he did.
Devontae,
which probably would have gave him the yards title, too, had he caught it.
Yeah, it would have. Good thing this is fake money.
Yeah. Okay.
Devontae Smith over under 73.5 receiving yards. Chris went over. I went under. He went just over in 76. And here's what I got to say about this. I'm going to make a comparison to the 49ers. Now that Debo Smith is out for Smith.
Debo Smith? Who's Debo Smith?
Combination of Devontae and Debo. Debo Samuel, now that he's out for a couple weeks, you know who's got to step up like Devontae Smith did with A.J. Brown's absence? Brandon Ayuk is getting paid $30 million a year. I'm not mad, but I'm
sounds like you're
I'm a little mad.
Yeah.
Now that Debo's out, that's where that $30 million is going, baby. You better be filling in nicely.
Hey, tell Brock Purdy to throw him the rock.
Brock Purdy's still confused about Brian Flores and what he was doing the other day.
Hey, is that a bad sign when the game is and your quarterback goes up to the defensive corner and is like, hey, heck of a scheme you put together there?
I think it is.
I don't know. I can't see Tom Brady walking up to any defensive coordinator and showing him love after he's stymied it.
No, I would have Tom just say something nice to him and then in the locker room be like, man, what was that? Like, couldn't figure that thing out. But Brock,
by the way, I'm just picking.
I know.
Brock, he's a good quarterback.
The good thing is in week 2, someone gave him something new to look at, and now he can study how to beat that. So there you go. Jalen Hurts over under 39.5 rushing yards. Chris went over. I went under. He had way more than 39.5. He had 85 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts looked pretty good last night, even though they lost. That tush push. You were doing the game, so Jason Kelsey was in the booth, and he was trying to describe the tush push, and he's basically like, he said it's inevitable that it's going to work. It's just always going to work if you get the right leverage.
I love the fact that he spoke with, I don't know if you saw the interview with Jalen Hurts that he did before the game.
No, I didn't.
First of all, he hates that play. That was pretty apparent because he's always the center's the one who's at the bottom of the pile
getting
all of the time
up,
with people on top of him. So it's not his favorite play, but he did virtually say the same thing. It's pretty unstoppable. We got a Padres lineup, FYI.
Okay, we'll get through this and then we'll go to the Padres lineup. Dodgers minus 1.5 over the Braves. Both of us chose the Braves. Both of us are wrong. The Dodgers won 9-0. Paul Skeens.
Did you guys pick with your hearts on that?
Yeah. We did. Paul Skeens over under 6.5 Ks. We both said over. He had 7, and there are still people pushing for Paul Skeens to be Rookie of the Year.
Listen, you guys know how I feel. I think Jackson's the guy, but Paul Skeens is not really letting up. I mean, he's still throwing the ball pretty good, and they didn't shut him down the way I thought they would either at this point.
It's true. That's true. So Paul Skeens wins that bet. Padres Astros total over under 8 runs of the game. Chris went under. I went over. Chris was right. 3-1 equals 4. So there you go.
Chris dominated you, buddy.
I don't know about that. Chris has been pretty good lately with the betting. Lately, I should say. All right, that's it for Daily Gambit. We do have a lineup. I just don't see it on the website.
It's not on the website yet. It's via Jeff Sanders.
I see it now. Okay.
You won't believe it.
What?
Same lineup as it was yesterday.
It is the same lineup, but Arise is DHing. I know that,
If I recall correctly, he did that yesterday.
But what I'm saying is his knee must not hurt that bad if he's back DHing.
I think that's a fair assumption. I don't know if it's not hurting. It's not hurting him enough to keep him out of the lineup. It's probably more what it is. I told you, no one is going to sit out unless they absolutely can't go. No one is sitting out the rest of this season. You can book it unless they clinch said wild card spot, whatever one they shooting for, or they won. I'm sure clearly they want to host.
Yeah.
They're not. No one's sitting out until that is in stone, at least.
So the
And
first
if there's a chance to host, no one is going to sit out.
So the first wild card team plays the
top wild card team plays the second wild card team.
Okay, so they would play the Diamondbacks right now at home.
Right. The last wild card team plays the third best division winner.
So it would be
which
Brewers,
is the Brewers
Mets.
right now.
Yeah. Do you think, Tony, because Chris and I kind of talked about this yesterday, and which is why we pick with our hearts on the Dodgers thing with choosing the Braves. I'm still thinking the division's in play. With 11 to go and 3 against the Dodgers, their Dodgers are 89-61, Padres are 86-65. If luck goes your way and the Dodgers don't play well down the stretch and you beat them in 2 of the 3 games, you think they're playing for the division in that last series?
I want to say yes, but I think it's important to remember the Dodgers have 2 series versus the Rockies and 1 against the Miami Marlins. So, there's that.
Yeah, there's that. There's that. It kind of shuts me up.
Rockies beat the Diamondbacks yesterday.
They did. They had a comeback,
they did.
too.
They beat us a couple times, too. So, I mean, it certainly is not out of the realm, for sure. But, they probably need it more than anybody at this point in terms of whatever extra rest they can get. I don't know that it helps their situation because they got a boatload of dudes who are kind of up in the air in terms of one is out of the air. He's done completely. And so we'll see. And that's Glass now. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's step away. I have to step away to catch some Mike Schilt. Skraby taking it from here. You good to go, Mr. Skrabe?
Yeah, I think we're going to actually play something that we talked about. Why am I blanking on what we talked about at 320 right now? This is kind of embarrassing.
Oh, we talked about the NFL.
Oh, yes, we did talk about the NFL. We went more into some of that stuff.
A little bit more of the breakdown of the Monday night game.
Kareem Hunt,
some of the signings, Tua, the news of Tua going on the IR. So we'll have that all for you when we return. More Gwynn and Chris. Here's some traffic for you. How long are we in the LO free zone again?
Till October.
October.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's only a couple weeks away, like the beginning of October?
Yeah, the beginning, not like middle of October, like first week of October.
I was about to say, it's kind of, usually, this is a good move. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's a good move by Chris. Typically he takes his vacations right during postseason. He's getting the jump on it this year, starting it early so he can be back for perhaps a long postseason run. So
I asked him, why not go in like July, August?
Yes.
He
What
said
did he say?
because his wife, they like to celebrate around their anniversary, and they only get one of these big vacations a year. And I said, okay, I'm not going to fight with you on this because this is a losing battle.
That's fair. Dave Marcus had a little snarky comment earlier about, why is he leaving now? And it's like, not everybody, makes their life around baseball, and some people, got to have other bosses they have to answer to. So,
yeah, but I mean, when your job is baseball,
his job is technically not baseball. His job is actually a broadcast. I mean, a radio host.
that broadcast Padres games.
He broadcasts. He doesn't broadcast any Padres games, as far as I know. Has he done any?
No, he works on the radio station. You know what I'm saying. You're trying to twist all of my words up.
I'm just saying, as long as he's back for the postseason, I think it's all good. He's making an adjustment this year.
So he gets to miss out on all of the whatever happens in the last 2 weeks. That's fine, as long as you're right. As long as he's back by the postseason, which he will be back by the postseason.
He'll be back by the postseason. So we hope Chris and Lori have a terrific time while they're gone. All right, let's talk a little NFL. We'll start with last night's Monday night football game, which happened to be a good one.
A very good one.
I don't think it was expected to be a good one, but it was. And the Falcons came out on top. I think the play of the game ended up being, after, by the way, a supreme week 1. Week 2 didn't end well for my man Saquon. He dropped a key third down pass that would have certainly led to a first down and them being able to run out the clock. Instead, they take the points, and Kirk Cousins marches right down the field to give the Atlanta Falcons a Week 2 victory. And I have to say, I was so disappointed that Adam Klug got to grin from ear to ear because the Falcons came back and won that game.
I mean, the game was great at the end. It was kind of weird in the first half, but you're right. I mean, Saquon does deserve most of the blame for that ending drive.
He took the blame, by the way.
He did.
Definitely stood in front of the camera and said, I let my team down today.
Yeah, but, I mean, you got to give it to Kirk Cousins and the Falcons because they didn't do anything resembling that all game, all year so far, and he drove them down the field like it was nothing and got them into the end zone. And, I mean, if I'm a Falcons fan, I am so excited now for the launching of this team because I feel like this is going to really prove to them that they can be the team that wins a bunch of games.
Yeah, I mean, all of the naysayers that were basically saying Michael Penix was going to have this job before we knew it. It looks like Kirk Cousins might have something to say about that.
By the way, he did a bunch of play actions last night to kind of tell everybody he's fine.
Well, that was the thing that I was listening to him talk about his injury before the game, and he was saying how he's not 100% per se, but he feels 100% in the pocket. And I took that to mean that he may not be moving the way he wants to just yet, but when it comes to sitting in that pocket and throwing the football, and we saw it in that last drive, I mean, him and Mooney picked apart that defense. And by the way, I think, for as much, trouble as Saquon Barkley is in for dropping that ball, how about the defense get a stop? I mean, it's not like they had to half a field. They had to, march, a pretty good chunk of that, 70 yards.
Yeah.
And they did that like it was nothing.
Nothing. But that was a fun game, and it was fun to see Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk Cousins, but he does still have that whole thing where he throws the soul-crushing interception.
Yeah, this is not the part of the year that Kirk struggles in.
Yeah, it's the big time.
It's just when it gets cold and games really start to matter is where you start to see some of those mistakes. Now, he's playing in the dome now, so that shouldn't be an issue here. But we'll see. We'll see. Certainly off to a good start for the Atlanta Falcons. Gosh, I know Adam is just so happy right now.
You know what he did?
So happy.
He stopped me on the way in. He says, "You're not going to congratulate me for the Falcons?"
Of course he
And I said,
that.
"Dude, I sent you a text last night that said the Kirk Cousins era has started." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I guess you did." But the Falcons fans, like, come on, living on clouds over there.
Nonetheless, Falcons get a victory. I think the other big news, it just dropped not too long after we came on, or a little bit before we came on, I should say. Tua going on the IR.
Yeah.
He'll miss at least 4 weeks. They're looking at week 8 as his possible return date. But I can't say that I'm surprised, but it certainly sounded like yesterday they weren't going to put him on the IR. But today, I think the thing that changed was today he actually met with the neurologist. And so I assume whatever he heard in there changed the kind of trajectory that this was going.
Yeah, because I only saw it in print, but he was coming back, and he was coming back like today. So I think this is a smart move. Chris and I were saying off the air yesterday, we didn't know why we never thought of it. Why doesn't Tua wear one of those skull caps?
I was thinking the same thing, but then I heard that is the one position that it can actually have an impact on.
Because they can grab it.
No, not even that they can grab it. It alters the way how heavy it is, I guess, maybe, and
that would make sense. Okay.
Kind of, move your eyes and head. That's what it sounded like. It's the one position that it may actually, because you're not meant. It's meant for like contact, and that's the one position you're not really having any contact.
Because we've seen a couple guys wear them, and they look fine.
Yeah,
you don't really notice them too much.
I think that cap is going to be much like the. The S-bar that they wear on the helmets now where it comes across your jawline?
Yeah.
Initially, no one wanted to wear that.
Yeah.
But you see enough dudes get hit in the face, you're like, you know what, maybe, why wouldn't I wear that at this point to stop my face from being shattered?
Yeah, seriously, I know. I would want that too. I wouldn't want my face shattered.
I don't think anybody wants their face shattered. Now, the Miami Dolphins signed Tyler Huntley to the team. It sounds like third-year quarterback Skylar Thompson will start, but I'm sure that Huntley's there in terms of a little insurance just in case Mr. Thompson doesn't work out there. They're playing the Seahawks on Sunday this week, so.
Thankfully, we don't have to hear about the Dolphins for the next 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, we're also in the Dolphin-free zone. That is indeed correct. Kareem Hunt back in Kansas City. We kind of highlighted this a little bit yesterday. They need a running back. Pacheco's out for a nice little while. He's also been placed on the IR, and so they need running back help. And so, a lot of guys going on this IR, this early IR. It's a good thing that they added this because it used to be you went on the IR, your season was over. Now, they have like a
4-week IR.
4-week IR, and that is where a bunch of guys are headed. I believe your boy Debo is headed to that.
Hey, wait, to the IR?
I saw missed time, couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. I don't think.
He's not going to be on IR. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Oh my gosh, you scared
me. Cooper Kupp is going on the IR though.
Yeah.
I think there's one more we're missing. It may not be another one. All right, let's get to break. It's just me and Skraby rolling through the rest of this show. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
Ben and
here on 97 through the Fan. Matt Skraby with you, Tony Gwynn Jr. off, listening to Mike Schilt, Adam Klug in the house as well. We're going to get to Padres Pen Pals here in just a second. And let me tell you, I had someone in my DMs telling me that we were gaslighting them yesterday. And so I brought that to the table. And let me tell you, gaslight, I think, is a trigger word for Tony because whenever he is accused of gaslighting, he ends up wanting to prove that person wrong. So we're going to be talking about that in Padres Pen Pals. But there were some other things last night in the game against the Astros. First off, the Padres beating the Astros last night 3-1 should make everyone stop worrying about anything that happens the rest of this year. This team, as I said earlier, I need to get rid of all of the baggage from the last few years. This team is 100% different. And they're a team now that I watch, and I feel like they're going to win. And I can't say that we felt like that the last few years. We weren't really sure what was going to happen. But beating the Astros 3-1 is a preview of what this team can do in the playoffs. And we saw a couple scenarios that might come up in the playoffs, like Robert Suarez closing, Tanner Scott being the eighth inning guy. And yesterday we were talking about Tanner Scott. Maybe he should pick up the closer role for a little bit from Robert Suarez because he's been struggling. But then Tanner Scott struggled yesterday. So there's no right answer, I don't think. But I do think the only answer for this team right now is to keep everything as is. They lose one game, it's okay. They're going to be fine. They just swept the Giants. Yes, Robert Suarez gave up the first right-handed home run into McCovey Cove in the history of the ballpark, but they ended up coming back and winning, and that should bode well for the playoffs. Their mentality in extra inning games is different, as Jake Cronenworth has said, and they're just playing a lot better. They're playing more fundamental baseball. And Robert Suarez came in last night, 8 pitches, 1 save, 5 fastballs, 3 sinkers, all hard pitches, but he didn't need another pitch last night. He was doing fine. So that's why I'm okay with Robert Suarez continuing to throw his fastball sinker because it's been working for him all year. And we are in Padres Pen Pals going to talk about this Robert Suarez thing in a little bit more detail. But I was going to get to this at 5 p.m. I think I'm going to divulge a little bit of it, and then we can revisit it at 5 p.m. But I have difference makers for the playoffs, and I think that Yu Darvish is a big-time difference maker for the Padres here down the stretch. He's rested. He has not. He unfortunately had all that time off, as we said earlier in the show. But that just means his arm is good. It seems like he is focused. He seems like he is built back up. He pitched magnificently last night, and that was a much-needed start from a rotation that's been really, really good right now. I mean, they're giving up basically no runs. How many runs did the Giants score on Sunday? It was 2, right? They tied it up 2-2 or 3. It was 4-3. I always forget the scores. But either way, pitching has been so good as of late, and you can't look past starting pitching in the playoffs. That's why ESPN wrote an article. It was 4-3 in the game. So they only gave up, 4 runs in the last 4 games. No runs in the first 2 games against the Giants, 3 runs against the Giants on Sunday, and then 1 run last night against the Astros. And the Astros have good pitching, really good pitching. If there's a team that has equally as good a pitching right now, it's the Astros. I mean, they got Josh Hader at the back end of the bullpen, and we know what Josh Hader can bring, and we know that Josh Hader can strike guys out. We know that Josh Hader can win games, close games out. I don't want to see Josh Hader if I'm a Padres fan because he's nasty, and so it's going to probably end up bad for the Padres. But at the same time, this team has really come into its own here in the second half, and they're playing like a team that we did not see last year. So again, I have to throw all my baggage out the window because last year was a completely different team when you look at the nucleus of everything. And you move a few players around. I'm not saying that the players were the problem or anything like that. I'm not going to say that that was the major issue last year. But you move some things around. You get some players in like Luis Ariz. You have Jackson Merrill playing really well. And you turn this team into a team that is one of the teams that people are saying down the stretch could end up winning the World Series. And ESPN put out an article. It was like fact or fiction, which teams are for real in the postseason. And they went through the Padres, and they said with their bullpen, with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. Healthy and ready to go, they are a team that teams should not want to face in the playoffs, because we see it time and time again. You get a small lead. Let's just take last night's game, for example. Padres come out, get a small lead. Pitching does its thing, doesn't give up anything. And then they go 7-8-9 with their setup guys, and then Robert Suarez to close it out. That is a recipe for success. And if you can repeat that in the playoffs, they're going to go a long way in the playoffs. There's going to be hiccups here and there, but I feel confident on a daily basis with what we have in the bullpen, what we have in the rotation, what we have in the lineup. And this is going to be a really fun end to the year for sure. I'm so much happier to be talking about all of this than to be talking about stuff that happened in the past, because that was not fun. All right, Padres Pen Pals is coming up here in just a second. I'm going to give you the rest of those difference makers a little bit later. And at 4 p.m., instead of Chris versus the Fans, I have a new game for everyone. So I'll explain it when we get there. But just know that there is a new game on the way. And right now, it's time to get into traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Just a few trouble spots here. Solo vehicle accidents up on 125 before Navajo Road. This car hit the center divide. Also traveling up the coastline northbound 5 before Delmar Heights Road. Two-car collision over to the right shoulder. And Cordell traffic cam shows a stalled car partially blocking the Twin Oaks Valley Road off-ramp westbound 78. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car. It usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. And Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's time to ask the experts, Padres fans.
I was hoping maybe you can bring a little insight into it.
Write us, tweet us, Facebook us, send a carrier pigeon for Chris. He thinks they're cute. Padres Pen Pals begins.
Hurt the pelota big time.
Now on 97.3 The Fan.
Before Chris left and went on his vacation, I did tell him, Tony, that we will be sending carrier pigeons for his picks on Thursday. And he didn't think it was too funny. He's like, I have a phone,
he did.
right?
He doesn't really find that kind of stuff funny.
I have a phone, right? We can text. I'm like, come on, Chris. Just have a little bit of fun. If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. And we are doing Padres Pen Pals, as you heard. We haven't done this in a while, so we have mostly positive stuff, but we do have one guy who's not happy with us, and so we'll get to that in just a second.
Get after it.
I knew you would love that one.
Yes.
But let's start with a little bit of a positive. And we're going to start with someone who wants us to use their name, Jerry in Oceanside. This is for you. It's mainly a question for you, Tony.
Jerry.
But he says, I really love Jimmy Jackson Merrill, and I love that he loves being a Padre. Quite honestly, his love of the game has made me revert back into one of those fans that looks at the positives and brushes off the negatives. As someone who has been a baseball fan for over 30 years, I really love watching the different types of swings. Merrill's swing, although it produces fantastic results, doesn't look like the quote-unquote prettiest swing out there. So, Tony, what makes his swing so good?
First of all, pretty is in the eye of the beholder.
It's true.
So, one man's pretty is another man's ugly. And same with, one woman's pretty is another woman's ugly. So, I think that's subjective. I think what makes his swing so good is that it's consistent. I talked a little bit about it yesterday. He just does he's done a really good job of, his swing has been the same, but he just has gotten better at getting to certain pitches and understanding what the other pitcher's trying to do to him. I think the thing that's been remarkable about Jackson is that his swing hasn't changed all year. It's the same swing we've seen all year. The only difference is he's just more confident in what he's seeing, and we've seen a whole year of that here in 2024. I think so often. And listen, part of that is he's never really gone into a slump. So there's been no reason to tinker or change or, I think the only thing he was even at risk of having happen to him is falling in love with the long ball and trying to do it more than he should. I think the 5 that he has now, 24?
I think it's 24. I don't think
24 he has now have just been his swing and getting to pitches at the top of the zone. I don't think he's tried to go up there and hit any homers. And I think that's what makes him special is he's not trying to do that, and he just puts a good swing on it.
When he was on with you guys back in August, he said, like, I'm not trying to hit homers. I just hit it. If it goes over the fence, it's like a bonus type of thing.
Right.
It's awesome. It's awesome to see him. I don't really have any.
There's veterans who can't stay that consistent. You know what I'm saying? So.
What are pitchers trying to do to get him out? Because no one's been able to figure it out this year.
Well, I think they try to get him with spin below the zone. And you see that more now, breaking balls, back foot, try to present it in the middle, run it down. But I think maybe a couple months ago they were trying to beat him up. And I think you could beat him up in the sense of not get hurt there early. But now you try to beat him up, you can get hurt. I think that's part of the reason why we see that 24 under the HRs in his stat line.
I tried to go back and see how many he was projected to hit before the year. It wasn't 25, but
I said 16.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I mean 16.
He started hitting them, and we did like a segment where we tried to predict how many he would finish with, and I said 16. He's certainly surpassed that.
He has surpassed that. All right, thank you, Jerry, for that question. Here's the one where this person is not happy with us. I understand you guys have been around baseball longer than me, and I understand I don't know what it's like to stand in when a guy's throwing over 105 miles an hour like you, Tony.
But
there are certain things that you guys, I feel like, gaslights us.
Oh, we gaslight him.
Like this whole Robert Suarez thing. You say he doesn't need a secondary pitch, but I am seeing hits being had off him, and I am seeing he only throws that one pitch. I feel somewhat crazy because you're telling me it's not a big deal, when actually it does seem like a big deal. I'm up first on this one. Why do I feel gaslit by you guys? Now,
gaslight us.
Gaslight us. If Chris was here, what's a gaslighter? Anyway, I understand why you feel gaslit. Because as a person who's a non-baseball person who did not play professional baseball, throwing the same pitch over and over seems like it would be a bad idea. However, I have also learned that the pitch has movement, the location of the pitch is important, the speed of the pitch is definitely important. So if the team thinks that the fastball is the best thing for Robert Suarez, I believe in them because they would change it if it wasn't working. So I understand why you feel gaslit. However, this one is quite an enigma for us non-baseball people. Tony, why do I feel gaslit by you guys?
I don't know, honestly, why this individual feels gaslit by us. I'm being really honest here. I am not making up the numbers. I'm just saying, like, he's telling me that Robert Suarez only throws one pitch. And I'm not making this up. He throws a fastball at 74% of the time. He throws a sinker at 13% of the time. And he throws a changeup at 12%. That is not Tony Gwynn Jr. making that up. That is a fact. So I don't know why my man feels gaslit in this at all. That's just the facts. Now, if he's having a hard time distinguishing between the three, that's not really my fault. And I think you just have to pay attention to the movement and the radar gun. Radar gun to tell you his changeup is 91. Now I get maybe the sinkers and the fastball might be hard to decipher. They're both the same speed, but they do different things. And they're like pretty up. One is like sinking, like doing exactly what the name says. It's sinking when he throws it. The four-seam fastball is pretty straight. So I don't know what to tell you.
So he needs to find a secondary pitch just a fallacy? Because it seems like it's a fallacy. Because he has 3 pitches, so he has a secondary and a third pitch.
I mean, I think what they should be saying, if this is their opinion, that he needs something with spin, because that would be a thing. And at one point he did have spin, and he stopped using it because it wasn't effective.
He just blows it by people now.
You know, is there any complaints from my man from last night?
No. This was sent during the show yesterday after the whole
listen,
tweet
I'm certainly not trying to gaslight him. I mean,
I know. I think it's funny when people think that we have these intentions that are like yes, we wake up in the morning, we want to gaslight.
Why would I make that up? Why would I lie about it?
I don't know.
But nonetheless,
yes,
that's not what I'm doing. He literally throws 3 different pitches.
All right, this next one is about Luis Campusano. I feel for Campy. I'm a fan of his and really wanted to work out with the Padres. I'm encouraged to hear from Tony last week that this may not mean his time with the Padres is over. I just have a simple question. What does he need to do to get back with the big league club?
Well, it depends on what the timeline is on that. There may not be another opportunity to get back with the big league club this season.
Let's narrow it down then, and let's say make the big league team next season.
Next season? Oh, okay. I think, honestly, I think he's fine in terms of handling the bat. I think it's more of the catching side that he's got to get better at. More consistent is probably the better word for Campy. Calling the game, defending, blocking. I thought he threw the ball really well this year, actually. But those things, throwing the ball is a very small part of the catching position. It's about framing. It's about blocking. It's about calling a game. And I think those are that's the area that he most needs to be more consistent in.
What does Campy need to do? Just be him, man.
Yeah.
Just be him.
Just be him, huh? That's what you're going with?
Well, I guess just be him doesn't really make sense for him right now. Listen to your coaches and work hard. That's what I have to say. I mean, I don't really know. I just know that
hard hitting.
I just know that when I watched him at times, I got a little nervous with runners on base because he was having some struggles behind home plate.
Sometimes it got a little sloppy for sure.
It did, but I will follow you in this one. All right, final one. And this one's kind of fun, so I'm up first on this one. Where do you guys come down on bandwagoners? I have a friend that trash talks the Padres.
Great question. Where do you come down on with bandwagoners? Bandwagoners.
Yes.
Wait, bandwagoners?
Bandwagoners.
We're going with bandwagoners? All right.
Bandwagoners. I have a friend that trash talks the Padres when they are losing and loves them when they are winning. It drives me to the brink of insanity. So, Skraby, where do you guys come down on bandwagoners? I'm not a fan of bandwagoners. And the reason is because as someone I'm going to put myself as a Padre fan that's been a Padre fan for 30 years. As someone who has seen some bad baseball over the years, don't just jump on my bandwagon and think that you know everything. You didn't sit here through all those years when they didn't have a winning season, and now all of a sudden you know everything about baseball, and now all of a sudden you're a manager in an armchair. It's just ridiculous. I can't stand bandwagoners. Get off my bandwagon, Tony.
It's great analysis there, Skrabe. This is how I would break it down. Bandwagoners are like guests that come to your house.
Ooh.
They don't get to participate in the family argument. Like you don't get to criticize. Like I can say that about them, but you can't say that about them because you're just here visiting. You weren't here when it looked like this was never going to be a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't have to go through none of that. So, as a guest on our wagon, you got to be quiet. I'm sorry. Even if it frustrates you, you just have to know, you know what? I'm not at my place. I'm not at my friend's place. I mean, I'm at my friend's place, and I think the right thing to do is just keep my thoughts to myself.
Yeah, that's a hard thing for me to do. I can't keep my thoughts to myself.
Well, you're not a bandwagoner.
Oh, that's true.
You don't have to keep your thoughts to
I should
yourself.
classify the two types of bandwagoners, because I'm fine with the bandwagoners that jump on the train and want to learn about baseball and learn the players.
Yeah.
That's all
For
good.
sure.
It's the people that act like they are experts on everything.
Get out of here with that.
Get out of here with that. Jump off the bandwagon and hurt yourself.
We
while
don't
you're at
need
it.
your kind.
It's true. We don't. Get out of here. All right. That's it for Padres Pen Pals. When we get back, I have a new game that Adam and I are going to try and play with two of you out there to fill in for Chris versus the fans. So
This
it may
would
be
be
a one and done, Tony. It may be one and done. But I think it's going to be kind of fun. So we'll see. Give us a call, 833-288-0973.
Padres, Astros, today.
No doubter, Jackson Merrill.
Pre-game, 5:40. First pitch, 6:40. The Padres play here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Back here, 97.3 The Fan. Gwynn and Chris, Odyssey Palace, Adam Klug with me. Tony Gwynn Jr. returns for the Big Five. We're about to try some new game. I'll explain it to you in just a second, but only 2 are going to get to play. It should be fun. We'll see. That was the first time Adam has heard that open, and he immediately shot his eyes at me, so I will be trying to explain that one away in the break. All right. We are in the stretch run of the show, and I hope you enjoyed the Padres Pen Pals. I swear to you, swear to you, we do not come on here and try to gaslight you. That is not our intention whatsoever. So if you feel gaslit, can't do anything for you because we're not trying to do that. All right, let's get into this game. Let's read the prizes first. So if you win, you'll be qualified for a trip to. Gosh dang it, Adam! I did the wrong prize again. This is really becoming a thing with me, and I hate it. Hate it so much. And it's always good when your boss is in here to directly talk to you or directly hear you making a mistake on the air and having to go struggle to go find it as he's smiling into the camera. It's always great. I don't know what other people's bosses have to do that. All right. You're going to be qualified for a grand prize. A 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas and 2 tickets to see Awakening, the thrilling spectacle at Wynn Las Vegas, dazzles audiences with soaring aerialists, bounding acrobats, high-energy choreography, and comedic moments. At the heart of this compelling story, a hero must confront the forces of light and darkness in a quest to save the world. A mythic adventure unfolds set amid the most technologically immersive theater ever designed. Tickets are on sale now at awakening.com. You will be qualified for that prize. You will also win a pair of tickets for 5 tastings in the Wine and Beer Garden at the La Jolla Art and Wine Festival on September 29th. This is a free event featuring 160-plus fine artists and loads of family fun. Tickets are required to enter the Wine and Beer Garden and can be purchased at ljawf.com. So you're going to actually win those tickets. And you're going to be qualified for Las Vegas. Now, how are we playing today? Last thing. When we do play Chris vs. the Fans, it's presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. All right, here's how we're going to play. I'm going to roll the dice in just a second, and we're going to pick our players. But I'm going to give the contestants, they're going to play against each other. There are going to be 10 different answers. I'm going to give you 2 players in baseball. You're going to tell me who you think has the higher batting average so far this season. We're going to tally it up. Whoever gets the most out of the 2 callers, then they win the prize. And so there's no real cheat. Don't cheat. Be honest here. Do not go online and try to do this, especially if you're the second caller. You have to be honest and play honestly. So I'm going to roll the dice right now, and that's going to select our first caller. Brandon in El Cajon as our first caller. Wow, Brandon. Representing the chat, does that make you nervous at all?
Not at all.
Oh, not at all. Okay. You hang on, Brandon. I'm going to come back to you in just a second. Here's the second player. Is this a weighted die? Because it always comes up on 1-6. Rich in Chula Vista. Rich in Chula Vista is our second contestant. Hello, Rich.
Yo, what's up, fellas?
Not too much. Are you... I guess you don't really know because we've never played this game. But here we go. So whoever is going second, and I'm going to ask Brandon to give me a number between 1 and 50 right now.
27.
27. Wow, you were really close. So you're going to go first. I had 28 in mind. So you're going to go first. And then, Rich, you're going to go second. But don't cheat, Rich. Just to make sure that you don't cheat. These answers, you can answer differently because you'll see in just a second. So, Brandon, here we go. Who has a better batting average, Aaron Judge or Mason Wynn?
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge. Manny Machado or Dalton Varsho?
Manny.
And also, people can play along on their cars. Thank you, Adam. This does need some music. I said no music, but it needs music. All right, Stephen Kwan or Luis Arraez? Who has a better batting average?
Oh. You know what? I'll go Kwan for that one.
Kwan. Jose Altuve or Freddie Freeman?
Freddie.
Freddie is your answer. Jazz Chisholm or Teoscar Hernandez?
Teoscar.
Teoscar. Cody Bellinger or Brian Reynolds?
Brian Reynolds.
Jesse Winker or Julio Rodriguez?
Julio struggled all year. I can't say Winker. He caused too much pain this year. Let's go Julio.
Okay. Brent Rooker or Shohei Ohtani?
Ohtani.
Jurickson Profar or Jackson Merrill?
Jackson was hitting just under 290 last night. I don't know if Profar fell under that. Let's go Profar.
Profar. And then final one, Vlad Jr. or Trey Turner?
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner. All right, Brandon, you are done. Stay right there. We're going to give you the answers in just a second. We're going to go to Rich now in Chula Vista. Rich, I think you understand how to play the game, right?
Yeah, man, ready to rock.
All right. And again, you're playing honestly. Who has a better batting average, Aaron Judge or Mason Wynn?
I'm going to go with Judge.
Judge. Manny Machado or Dalton Varsho?
Manny.
Stephen Kwan or Luis Arraez?
I'm going to go with Arraez on that one.
Arraez. Jose Altuve or Freddie Freeman? Freddie. Jazz Chisholm or Teoscar Hernandez?
Hernandez.
Okay. Cody Bellinger or Brian Reynolds?
I'd say
Reynolds. Jesse Winker or Julio Rodriguez?
Julio.
And Brent Rooker or Shohei Ohtani?
Ohtani for sure.
Ohtani. Jurickson Profar or Jackson Merrill?
I think he said Merrill. I'm going to go Profar.
You're going to go Profar. No, he said Profar, I believe. But you're
I'll
going
go
to
with Merrill then.
Okay, you want to go Merrill.
Yeah.
Vlad Jr. or Trey Turner?
Vlad.
All right, so we got our contestants. I don't know, Adam, are you able to bring them on at the same time? All right, this is fun. So let me tell you, we do have a winner. We don't need a tiebreaker. Let's go through the answers. Who has a better batting average, Aaron Judge or Mason Wynn? Both of you said Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is correct. 321 versus Mason Wynn's 271. Next, Manny Machado or Dalton Varsho. Both of you said Manny Machado. You both are correct. 277 to 214. So we're 2-2 right now. Next one, Stephen Kwan or Luis Arraez. Brandon answered Stephen Kwan. Rich answered Luis Arraez. The answer is Luis Arraez. Rich picks up a point there, so now it's 3-2 Rich. Luis Arraez hitting 323. Stephen Kwan fell off quite a bit, 291 at the moment. Next one, Jose Altuve or Freddie Freeman. Brandon said Freddie Freeman, I'm sorry. And you also said Freddie Freeman, Rich. Answer, Jose Altuve. Neither one of you got that one. Jazz Chisholm or Teoscar Hernandez. You both said Teoscar Hernandez. That is correct. So right now, Rich has a 1-point lead. Cody Bellinger or Brian Reynolds. Both of you said Brian Reynolds. Both of you are correct. 280 to 268. By the way, Jazz Chisholm is hitting 262. Teoscar Hernandez 267. Jesse Winker or Julio Rodriguez. Let's see here. Is this number 7? See, this is the part that gets me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. Both of you said Julio Rodriguez. Both of you correct. 263 to 260. Brent Rooker or Shohei Ohtani. Both of you said Shohei. Actually, it was Brent Rooker. Can you believe that Brent Rooker is hitting 302 right now to Shohei Ohtani's 288? Now, Jurickson Profar or Jackson Merrill. Rich said Jackson Merrill. Brandon said Jurickson Profar. Jackson Merrill ekes it out. So Rich gets that one, and the game is over. Rich has won our first ever, whatever we're going to call this. And Vlad Jr. and Trey Turner, the last one. Brandon said Trey Turner. It was actually Vlad Jr., 319 to 296. So I doing this once. Rich, you are the winner. Congratulations. Brandon, stay there. Rich, stay there. Brandon, thank you for playing. I got to figure out. I'm going to talk with Adam in the break. See what we could do to spice this up. Because I think there's something here. It just was a lot of numbers for me to read. And I don't know how fun that was on that side. But would you have gotten those correct, Adam? Would you think you would have known the Brent Rooker over Shohei Ohtani?
I would like to think that when you ask a question like that, you expect people to say Ohtani, so maybe I go the opposite and go with Rooker.
Yeah,
I know he's got like 38 home runs. He's having a great season, right?
He is having a great season, but 302. Brent Rooker, he wasn't a guy that was on the radar here, but they gave him away. And he's playing really well. But at the time, no one really cared. No one really gave him the chance. He had a couple games in a Padres uniform, but that one seems to be one that got away a little bit. I know we talked about this the other day, and every trade happens for a reason, but Brent Rooker is playing really well right now. Jackson Merrill, I can't think of a more steady rookie off the top of my head. He's pretty much hit 290 all season long. He never has a dip. He never has a prolonged stretch where he's not getting hits. And Jackson Merrill he has, 24 home runs right now? He's going to be hitting 25. I think Tony said before the year he predicted 16. Now, I know we're still in this season, but I'm already thinking about next year with Jackson Merrill. And I'm thinking, how high of the expectations are we going to be putting on Jackson Merrill? This is something we could talk about a little bit later, but with his rookie season being the way it is, Jackson Merrill is we're going to pencil him in for 25 home runs next year. We're going to pencil him in for 100 RBIs next year. And do I have faith that Jackson Merrill's going to be able to figure it out? Yes, because he's figured it all year. But I think his expectations are going to be a lot higher. So I think that makes it a little bit different for him going into next season. It's great to have Jackson Merrill. I also had someone ask me on the dog walk the other day, do you think Jackson Merrill is going to move back to shortstop? And my answer was no, because he's already played some great center field. And I don't know where he is on the Gold Glove list of center fielders, but the eye test tells me that he could be a Gold Glove winning center fielder. I don't remember too many mistakes from Jackson Merrill. Trent Grisham won some Gold Gloves, and I feel like I've had less of a worry with Jackson Merrill in center field than Trent Grisham, which really, I mean, if you're a center fielder out there, you got to think, man, all I got to do is just never play center field and play it, and I'll play it great and get Gold Gloves. But you get this outfield right now. This outfield is stacked. You got Fernando Tatis Jr. at right, you got Jurickson Profar in left, and you got Jackson Merrill in center. I think Jackson Merrill is one of those. Obviously, he's an X factor. It's not me going out on a limb to say that he's an X factor, but no other team has a Jackson Merrill. No other team has a rookie playing as well as Jackson Merrill. And when you have those little prizes, more so than other teams, that's what puts you over the top in the playoffs. It's all about, the playoffs, every pitch matters. Now, every pitch matters during the season, yes. But really, in the playoffs, every single pitch matters. You'll take an advantage anywhere you can find it. Jackson Merrill is certainly an advantage. Luis Ariz, second in baseball right now in batting average, 323. He is DHing tonight, so we don't have to worry about his knee injury at all.
If you care about the stat, outs above average,
sure.
Jackson Merrill is ranked 8th in the National League among center fielders.
Ooh, so he's not close to who's number one?
Jacob Young of the Washington Nationals leads the National League in outs above average and runs prevented, according to StatCast on Baseball Savant.
I'm putting you on the spot. Do you know how outs above average are calculated?
Outs above average is the cumulative effect of all individual plays a fielder has been credited or debited with, making it a range-based metric of fielding skill that accounts for the number of plays made and the difficulty of them.
Okay.
For example, a fielder who catches a 25% out probability play gets a plus 0.75, and one who fails to make that play gets a minus 0.25.
Okay, so maybe he's not near the top in that metric. That does tell me something. It tells me that there are 7 other guys that have a bigger range than he does. I've played fantasy baseball. I never came across this Jacob Young guy. I wonder if he's someone that came up.
He's a speedster. He steals a lot of bases.
I mean, Jackson Merrill. I guess Jackson Merrill's not considered a speedster, but he could be. He plays center field. You have to be a speedster. He stole a bunch of bases this year. Anyway, Padres have a great outfield, and Jackson Merrill being that little X factor could really, really, really help them go far in the playoffs. All right, congratulations to Rich. We'll figure out what we're going to do with the rest of this Chris versus the Fans time as Chris is out. When we get back, I'm going to tell you something about myself that I realized today, and it makes me feel extremely old. So I'll tell you when I get back here on Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. Back here in the Odyssey Palace, 97.3 The Fan. Crisello out on vacation. I'm in his seat today. Tony Gwynn Jr. will be back for the Big Five here shortly. And we have a good score to update at the moment. The Dodgers are in Miami, and they're losing to the Marlins 3-0 right now. I didn't catch which inning it was, but I'm sure it's
Second
early.
inning, runners on the corners.
Second inning, runners on the corners. So there you go. And then the Giants are beating the Orioles right now. So who would have thought that? One thing I got to say about the listeners to this station and listeners to this show, that I appreciate everybody letting me try things and then coming back with good feedback on it. So thank you to Jocelyn for giving me some feedback on it. Said too many questions in the last game. So Adam and I were talking here in the break, and I may try something else, but I may just go back to like Adam versus the fans or something like that, because it's a lot easier than me naming off all these different numbers throughout the entire game. All right, I said before we went to break that I feel really, really old, and I found out today. I didn't find out today. I realized today. But I was getting out of my car, and we have to have this little key card to get into the building, and I usually keep it in my wallet. And I am now the guy who throws his wallet on the seat next to me because it is too big. I have a wallet that is way too big, and growing up, my dad had this wallet that needed to be closed with a rubber band. It was ridiculous how many receipts were in this thing, how many credit cards were in this thing. But this wallet right here, Adam, is your wallet definitely thinner than that? Because I would hope that it's thinner than this. I have stuff in here that I don't need.
So I'm less than a year on this. So I think it was Hanukkah of last year. So like last December, my brother-in-law, actually I think it may have been my birthday, so maybe it's last summer, gave me this. I'm gonna show it on the camera. It's got a money clip on it, and then it opens and closes as well for credit cards and driver's licenses and stuff. And obviously it's very thin, and I put it in my front pocket. I used to have a wallet in the back pocket, and now I carry this in my front pocket.
I carry all my wallet in the front pocket because I got pickpocketed when I was younger. I'll never do that again. But your wallet is much more compact than mine. Jocelyn asked, what do you have, your Blockbuster card in here? I probably have a card that's been expired for maybe 5 years or something like that. I do keep all my old driver's licenses for some reason. But yeah, I realize that I'm becoming my dad. I'm going to clean this out when I get home, and I'm going to make sure that I don't have this huge wallet. I think big wallets are an old guy thing, right? I mean, the older you get, the more you accumulate. Did anybody else's dad have a wallet that needed to be closed by rubber bands? Because I think I'm the only one at this moment in time. Now, the other thing I want to talk about real quick, and then we're going to get to the Big Five, is this story about the home run from Elliot Ramos on Sunday against the Giants and the Padres, when he was the first ever to hit a home run into McCovey Cove from the right-handed side. And there's a guy named Dave Edlund. He is known as McCovey Cove Dave. And if you don't know who this is, you're going to know, because he likes to tell everyone that he's McCovey Cove Dave.
What's he, like the West Coast version of Zach Hampel?
Thank you, Adam. I said that this morning when I was putting this together. He is Zach Hampel.
Did I just steal your thunder?
No, not at all. Zach Hampel is this guy. If you don't know who Zach Hampel is, he goes to all the parks around the country, and he facetiously pushes kids over to get balls and things like that. But this guy got the ball in McCovey Cove. He will not give it back to the team, to Ramos, to the Hall of Fame. And the reason that he said that is because he doesn't think that Elliot Ramos cares about him at all or knows about him. And that's legitimately his reason. Giants fans are not happy with this guy because he does this a lot. But he said, like, Bryce knows me. These guys know me. So he's not giving the ball back. And many Giants fans are very, very unhappy about it. Now, here's the part where I say, don't give this guy any more attention, because he told SF Gate that he does enjoy the attention and celebrity status he's developed with the Giants fan. He's also a guy who gets very mad if you steal a ball from him in McCovey Cove. This guy, I don't want to call him a loser, but because he's not a loser. But if you are basing your happiness in your life around being McCovey Cove Dave, then you need to maybe rethink some things. But he's been in controversy after controversy after controversy, and he just does not care. He said about Pablo Sandoval, Brandon Belt, and Hunter Pence. He caught a couple of their home runs, and he said these guys basically went out of their way to interact and give love to the Giants fans, so they earned those balls. Elliott, this is his beginning season. I hope he has a fantastic career. He could get this ball, but he has to earn it. He has to play 10 years for the Giants and become deeply loved. And when I pass away, then yeah. So this really tells you everything you need to know about this guy. So anytime you see a guy in McCovey Cove in a little kayak, just know that he will fight you for a ball, and he will tell you that you haven't earned it, even if you're a big league player who hit the home run. I just can't stand for stuff like this.
Guy sounds like an egomaniac.
He does sound like an egomaniac. And when the paper asked him, "Do you enjoy the celebrity?" He said, "Yes." You're just a guy in a kayak.
Celebrity.
He thinks he's a celebrity. This is the problem with him. Zach Hampel. Zach Hampel's already gotten too much airtime today, but these guys think that they're the draw when they're not actually the draw. Andrew Baggerly. Do you know who Andrew Baggerly is? He's a writer
for The Athletic.
Yes. He called Dave. He said, "Sorry, Dave, but you're a grifter and an attention seeker. Congrats. Now you have more attention. I hope it's everything you have dreamed of." So this guy does not have good relationships with basically anyone in San Francisco. But I thought that was a story that was insane, because this dude told a player who hit the home run he can't have his ball back until he earns it. That's a little strange. That's someone who has a little too much, or needs a little too much control in life. I think, at least. I don't know about you guys. Already, I know that one thing before we head to break. One thing that's true is that fans of any team in sports, they will fire or want to fire the coach after anything bad that happens. So John Harbaugh, Ravens head coach, he's been the head coach for like 20 years, done a really good job. They make the playoffs all the time. They won a Super Bowl. Ravens fans want him gone. And my thing is, if you want him gone, like, is there a better coach out there to hire? I guess Bill Belichick, but really? Is Bill Belichick a better coach at this point? I don't get the fire the guy after 2 games thing, but the Ravens have started 0-2. And the Ravens, they're in a tough division. They're thankful that the Bengals are also 0-2 with them, but don't fire John Harbaugh. He's a really good coach, and you probably can't find anyone better. So there you go. There's my complaining segment of my wallet becoming too big. Dave,
basically just turned into the Daily Gripe.
Yes, it did. A longer version of the Daily Gripe. That is a great point. That Dave guy really gets under my skin, though. Not Dave Marcus, but Dave the McCovey Cove Dave. All right, we're going to head to the Big Five. Tony is going to be back with us, and I am going to ask him. Mike Trout came out and said that he is willing to do different things to try to get back on the field. So I'm going to ask, what is the solution for Mike Trout to get back on the field? And that's in the Big Five next on 97.3 The Fan. Master Skraby back with you. Odyssey Palace 97.3 The Fan. Gwynn and Chris filling in for Chris. He will be back in a couple weeks, and Tony is down at the ballpark, but he is going to be joining us for the Big Five. A quick update. Shohei Ohtani, who was stuck at 47 home runs and 48 stolen bases, just hit his 48th home run, and it went into the moon. It went to the moon, basically, so that's all you need to know about that. I know people aren't happy about that, but it is history, so we have to talk about it. And with that, we are going to head to traffic, and then you have the Big Five.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. A couple of problems in the South Bay, northbound side of the 805 near the 54. We have reports of some sort of debris in that right lane. Also, a collision on northbound 5 before E Street. A couple of vehicles involved. No details as to where the lanes are blocked. Cordell traffic cam shows a collision on the coastline northbound 5 just before Tamarack. Car and pickup truck blocking the fast lane. Viejas Casino and Resort is home to the best players club in My Viejas. Start earning points toward incredible rewards like free gifts, concert tickets, hotel stays, dining discounts, and more. It's time to ditch the other guys and join the best. The My Viejas Players Club, Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Well, one streak ended last night, and it's time to start another streak. And the first topic today is going to be
number 5
about our guy Luis Ariz. He ended his long streak of plate appearances without a strikeout at 141 last night, and now he starts a new streak. And I saw a tweet today from MLB Now, and it had a picture of Luis Ariz, and the caption said, "Is hitting for contact underrated in today's game?" Now, the long answer I know is yes, Tony, but I'm going to ask you first this question. I'm going to ask you this question total. Does a contact hitter work on every team or certain teams?
A contact hitter should work on every team, but the way certain teams are, you know what? I would say that, yes, in today's game, a contact hitter would be valuable everywhere because most teams aren't built with that in mind. They're built with on base and slug in mind, and Luis is a unique player. It is really, there's no one like him, and so yes, everybody could use a Luis Ariz in their lineup, but there's only one of them, and so teams aren't going to certainly build their lineup around a guy like that, but he's useful in every lineup. I don't care what lineup it is. I mean, if your team is just not very good, probably maybe not as useful in terms of helping you win. But if you have any semblance of a lineup that doesn't consist of the same guys, yeah, a contact guy is useful everywhere, I would believe.
We only really have, two true contact guys, Stephen Kwan and Luis Ariz? Would that be?
I don't know, man.
I mean, there's more out there, but
I think Freddie Freeman has to be involved in that conversation.
Okay, all right.
I mean, he just is kind of like the best of both worlds, maybe. Not a lot of punch, but he gives you some power to go with it. I think he's got to be included in that. I think, a guy like – and just the thing is, a lot of people will see these guys I'm naming, and they won't think that they are a hit tool guy first. But Yordan Alvarez is a hit tool first guy. I think Juan Soto is a hit first tool guy.
Aaron Judge?
I think Aaron Judge has to be considered. He's hitting over 330.
That's true.
Or he was at least.
Yeah.
I think – but those are like the best of the best. And then Judge and Soto – and you could probably throw Freeman in there. They're like the best of it all. But those guys, there's like a handful of guys like that, though, in baseball. And so to answer your original question, I think, yeah, contact a guy is valuable if you're trying to build a lineup that has different shapes to it, right? however you put that together. If you got some guys who can drive in some runs, you got multiple guys who can do that and slug and find their way on bases, yeah, having a guy who's a contact guy is useful in that lineup.
I mean, any sort of tough at-bat's a good at-bat, right? Or a tough at-bat for the pitcher. So Luis Arraez, any contact guy making tough at-bats, it's going to help, right?
Right. I mean, tough at-bat regardless is good for the team. It may not be good for the individual without getting the hits all the time, but anytime you can – I think we've seen it a lot this year. A guy have a 9, 10, 11 pitch at-bat that results in an out. At some point, you feel like that pops up again somewhere else down the line, as those pitches start to stack up on a guy. So, yeah, man, I think there's a ton of value there.
All right.
I know there are people who don't believe that, but
there are a lot of people who don't believe that.
They just don't know baseball.
Nah,
in my opinion.
I mean, I don't disagree. After missing 370 games over the past 4 seasons due to various injuries, Mike Trout is open to the idea of moving positions. He spoke to reporters yesterday, and he said everything is on the table when it comes to his future and trying to ensure that he stays on the field. Quote, ultimately, my goal is to be in that batter's box in the field every single day. Whether that's moving to a corner or DHing more, that's something that I'll leave up to the front office to come up with a plan where I'm at and what's happened the last few years. I'm definitely going to try and explore every option that can keep me out there, end quote. I'm up first. What is the solution for Mike Trout? I gotta say, I've been hard on Mike Trout basically the entire time we've done this show, but I like guys that are open to changing things, and it takes a big person to change something, especially a guy like Mike Trout. He wants to play center field. He wants to hit. But if he's thinking that it might help him to move to a corner or to DH more, I think this is him telling the front office what he wants to do. And I don't necessarily know what's better for his knee. I can't think running every day in the outfield is good for his knee. But I would say that Mike Trout is going in the right direction. Tony, what's the solution for Mike Trout?
I think he's just got to keep searching to find a way to stay healthy. Maybe it is, not moving to a corner where it's less taxing on the body, or, perhaps DHing some where you're taking more risk out of it. And I agree. I like a guy who you could. I don't know that he's telling the organization by doing this. I'm sure there's been conversations already happening behind closed doors. And I think it's nice for any player to have an openness to, especially when they've, in his case, struggled to stay healthy. He has an openness to trying to figure it out, which tells me he wants to play, and it pains him to have to sit down and watch baseball. When he's very good at the sport.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, you just hope that he can figure it out. We've seen guys have a string of injuries before, and then all of a sudden stay healthy. You hope that that's him as he goes into his 30s and starts to get towards on the other side of his career. You hope that he can have some healthy years, because when Mike Trout is healthy, man, there aren't a lot of players better than he is.
DHing, this is going to be a crazy thing. DHing seems boring to me. Like, if you were just a strict DH, like, what do you do all game in between? I know you can study the pitcher. You can go to the cage.
Boring. Yeah, no, it's definitely boring. Good. I feel like it definitely forces you to think about your at-bats even deeper than you probably want to a lot of times, because you have so much time on your hand. I mean, you can do a lot of things. Ride the bike. You can just, stay on the bench and, watch the game, take some mental reps.
Eat some sunflower seeds, I guess.
You're definitely going to eat some sunflower seeds, or, in some guys' cases, they're going to have some tobacco or some chew or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's one of those deals where you try to keep your mind off of what's going on. I DH'd a couple times in my career, and they weren't. I don't remember them being that fun.
Number 3.
You said this morning, and I thought this was crazy, but we'll get into it. The University of Tennessee is adding a 10% talent fee to its 2025 season tickets for football. The program announced this morning in an email to season ticket holders. The new talent fee cost will be used to pay its players through NIL, name, image, and likeness. The 10% talent fee added to the season tickets is part of the 14.5% price hike overall for 2025 season tickets. So Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White knew that people were going to be upset about this, and he said it's the price of doing business in the upcoming revenue-sharing era in college athletics, which will add to player compensation. They say all of this money is going to go towards the players. So, Tony, do you think this is fair to fans?
I don't know if it's fair or not, but this is just getting, like, more slippery.
Murkier and murkier.
Now the Tennessee Vols fans are definitely going to be able to say, "I pay your salary."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
true.
And it's going to be real too. Like, I mean, listen. On one end, I think it's a good idea, right? It is kind of the cost of doing business if you want to compete. And Vol fans come off to me as ones that don't want to finish second or don't want to be at the bottom of the SEC, and so. How badly do they not want to be at the bottom of the SEC? Enough to pay this 10%, right? 10%?
Yeah, 10% talent fee, a part of a 14.5% price hike overall.
Oh, so they
so basically it's a 24.5% price hike if they.
Yeah, see, they could have did this a little bit different. Maybe not had a 14% on top of the 10%. Maybe stagger the payment. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but nonetheless, I mean, this is a difficult one for me. You definitely feel for the fans who have to pay for it, but you also understand where the school's coming from, and in this place like a region like that, football is very important.
I think that's an important point. Is it's where it's being played.
It's the region it plays well, right? In the South, football is everything. And so I could see it working there. I can't see that working in a lot of places. Can't see it working in pretty much the rest of the United States for that matter. Maybe you have some chance in the Midwest to get some of those bigger, bigger schools to go that route. But
yeah.
I don't see that being a formula that works everywhere for sure.
That's a good point. You changed my overall answer, which at first it was no, it's not fair to fans, but certain fans are going to be okay with this. The problem is that they're printing money by being in the SEC. Tennessee is not doing bad. Why don't you just take a little bit of the money that you're getting from the SEC media contract and put it towards this whole thing instead of charging the fans for it? You just don't want to take money out your pocket.
I don't know. I can't speak to what, their pockets are saying and how much they're getting revenue-wise, so I don't want to accuse them of that, but, that would be what one assumes.
Yes. Yeah, assumes is a good word, but I'm going to go with it anyway, because I hate it when rich people charge not poor people, but when rich people
I was
just
about
prey
to say,
on
if you are buying season
medium
tickets
people.
for Tennessee Vols,
You're probably...
I'm going to go on a limb and say you're not poor.
True. Especially with that 14.5 overall price increase. Jeez.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're still committed to doing this, I don't think you're poor.
You're right.
Number 2.
We're going to stay in Tennessee because although Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan doesn't regret his emotional outburst at Will Levis on Sunday afternoon, he isn't happy that the moment was caught on camera. He's not mad at the cameras or anything. He just doesn't really want to be looked at like that. But he was seen on TV screaming, quote, "What the bleep are you doing?" at Levis after the quarterback fumbled just 6 yards shy of the end zone in their loss to the Jets. Now, they could have gone up by 2 scores in this whole thing. It was a bad turnover. Callahan was livid when Levis returned to the sidelines. You could find this clip anywhere. I'm up first. Do you have a problem with him doing this? Absolutely not. If Will Levis doesn't learn after the first game that he can't just be throwing the ball around, and he can't learn after the second game he can't be throwing the ball around in the red zone, you need to try something different, and maybe this is going to get his attention because he is reckless with the football. He just throws it around. It's crazy. And Will Levis, the one way you get your job taken away early is if you turn over the ball. And if he keeps doing this, he's going to be on the bench.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tony?
Stupid turnovers will certainly get you yanked. It's one thing to, throw into traffic or to throw to a dude who's triple covered. But my man threw one of the first last week. He threw an interception when he was being basically sacked.
He was.
He was being basically sacked, and he just threw it up. and it went right to the hand. Pick 6, I believe it was.
It was a pick 6.
And then this week, it was basically the same thing. He's being sacked, but he doesn't have the wherewithal to throw it forward. He throws it backwards, which, as you know, it means it's instantly a fumble once it hits the ground. It's exactly what happened. And I happened to catch that one live. Callahan, I mean, it was like fumble. You know, the camera's on the fumble. They identify who's got the ball, and they immediately pan to Callahan and catch him. I mean, the timing couldn't have been better. What the bleep are you doing?
Clear as day.
just he couldn't even hide it or lie about it if he wanted to. That's how clear it was that he was dropping some profanities on my man. And then I love the way he answered it at the press conference. Like, he certainly wasn't proud of it, but he definitely wasn't ashamed of it either. Like, well, if you see a guy just turning the ball over the way he was, I think you understand why I said what I said. I don't think people will look at him in a bad way at all. I think that's coaching a player up that has made back-to-back, like, horrendous decisions.
Horrendous.
And if you don't correct it, he isn't going to have a job very long. So.
Yeah. I mean, he's YOLO quarterback right now.
Right. By the way, Levis isn't like a first-round pick, by the way.
Remember when he fell out of the first round?
He fell out of it in part because of these type of decision-making. So, this ain't like a guarantee he's going to keep this job. So I would suggest he listen to Coach Callahan.
I think Ryan Tannehill will back up there. Oh, he's going to be breathing down his neck.
Number 1.
A family travel blogger has revealed her secret to getting an entire row on a flight. Tony, you might want to listen to this because you have a large family, so this could work for you. But solo flyers appear to be a little bit angry.
Of course they are.
I'm one of these people.
Of course
Jess
they are.
Darrington, the Idaho-based creator of Where is Briggs, which specializes in travel tips for parents with kids under 4, now shared a now viral seating hack on TikTok that has gotten more than 8.1 million views. Now here's the tip. Let me share this first. She said this sometimes works, not all the time, but they have good luck with it. Her family of 4 will purchase 2 separate rows and book the window and the aisle, hoping no one sits in the middle. And people are split on this because it forces you to choose a seat that you don't really want, or it forces you to choose a middle seat when you don't really want. So, Tony, you're up first. Is this a jerk move?
This is a silly move. First of all, they wouldn't be able to buy those tickets if they weren't available when they were purchasing them. So, therefore, sorry, that's how they decided to buy their tickets. There's 4 of them, right?
There's 4 of them, yeah, 4 of them.
Yeah, so, I mean, they trying to avoid the middle seat. They got there first. First come, first serve, right? It's not like the other folks who are solo can't get on there before them. And
well, I think this isn't Southwest boarding. This is like you book your tickets in advance and you choose your seats.
Either way, you're booking your ticket in advance.
I guess that is first come, first serve.
And then you're still choosing your seat. You just got to be on the computer or phone before they do. So, this is kind of a silly one.
I think the ploy is evil here.
I know you want to fight the power and whatnot, but bruh, this is pretty simple. Get on there. You know when you want to fly. Get on there early. If you're a last-minute person, guess what? You might be at mercy to what's available.
Okay, I'll accept that. Here's a story from me flying back from Ireland way back when. Keep in mind I come straight from the pub, so this was a tough flight home.
That's this was a way to start the story right there.
This is a tough one, but I don't like to draw attention to myself, especially in that condition. So
Wait, you went to the pub when you were about to fly that far, like.
Dude, it wasn't even a thought. I was like, man, I gotta enjoy my last little bit in Ireland. Are you kidding me? Let's get some Guinness going. Anyway, I sat down on the plane and I had the Economy Plus, so I purchased those extra leg room. There was a woman next to me who wanted her husband to sit next to her, and they had a small child. They asked me to move to her husband's seat, which was actually in the back, in the middle, in the back, and I said no. And I just proceeded to go back to sleep. Do you have a problem with that?
It's a pretty jerk move, but I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, good. Thank you. I paid for it, okay?
That flight is long, and you paid for it, and it wasn't like they were switching up with another economy seat.
Yeah, that's the
Nah,
biggest thing.
They was trying to put you with the no leg room spots.
I was already
for that long
hungover.
of a-
It ain't
Yeah,
happening.
man. That's tough, man. I know if I was the dad, I'd be looking at you crazy, or the husband, I'd be looking at you crazy. But there's a piece of me that have to respect it, though. There's a piece of me that have to respect it. Like, you know what? If I was him, I'd probably feel the same way.
And you know what? If I was that dad, I would feel the same way as that dad. I'd be looking at, look at that drunk kid over there. What a loser. Won't even help a family out. Jeez.
Both things can be true.
Yes. All right, that's it for the Big Five. Tony is off to get ready for the Padres game tonight, but I will be back. We'll be hearing from Mike Schilt, Michael King, all of that good stuff next on 97.3 The Fan. 5 p.m. hour here on Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. Big doings today for the Padres. We will get that. We'll talk about that in just a second. Get you set for that game tonight against the Astros. And we've been watching some baseball in here, Adam and I. We've been watching all of the playoff races, and just a little preview. In the next segment, we're going to hear from Michael King on Ben and Woods, and he talks about his kind of playoff watching routine. But I told you earlier that Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers were losing to the Marlins 3-0. I shouldn't have said anything at all because now they are tied up at 5 apiece in that game. So that's not great. Now, however, the Mets... okay, well, I'm just the bringer of bad news. As I was talking about, the Mets just scored to tie up the game against the Nationals. So it's 1-1 there in New York. But here we're going to be talking about the Padres. We have... we'll be hearing from Mike Schilt. He's going to talk about Luis Arraez. I'm going to talk about some of the things that are going to make a difference for the Padres down the stretch. And let's just start with Yu Darvish from last night. He was absolutely incredible. And here's a stat I found recently in the break. It says, including yesterday, the Padres' Yu Darvish has recorded multiple strikeouts in all 280 games of his MLB career. That is the longest streak by any player at any point in their career in the modern era since 1901. So, I mean, it doesn't really have anything to do with winning and losing, but Yu Darvish, multiple strikeouts in all 280 games of his career is pretty good. I mean, you would think at some point he would have a 1 strikeout game, or maybe even got hurt and got 1 strikeout.
Remember, we made a big deal out of it earlier in the year when Clayton Kershaw faced the Padres and he struck out 0 batters and ended that streak of his
That's
of
true.
At least 1 strikeout.
That is true. I didn't think about that, but it's impressive because Yu Darvish has continued to do it his entire career. Clayton Kershaw, I don't really know what Clayton Kershaw's got left. I mean, to be honest, and he's a Hall of Famer, but he doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy and doesn't seem to be able to help the Dodgers. He was pitching well there for a second when he came back, but he's been on the injured list here for a little bit with a foot issue. But Yu Darvish last night was incredible, and anything that we get from Yu Darvish from here on out is just icing on the cake, because maybe a month ago we were sitting here talking about Yu Darvish not returning to the team through his his absence, and what he's doing and what he will be doing for the Padres going forward is going to be a huge storyline, I think, at the end of October, because this is an ace that is rested heading into the most important part of your season, and he came back with enough time to allow himself to get ready. So he's going to be stretched out. He's going to be in mid-season form by the time the playoffs get here. He also has about 3 months of pitching that he did not do this year. So his arm is feeling pretty good, I would have to imagine. And yesterday he proved it to us. And Yu Darvish is one of those guys that you put him out there, and he's going to give you 5 innings, at least 5 innings, and he's going to keep the game in reach for the Padres, and obviously that's what he did last night. Not to mention against a really good Astros lineup. You have to go through some great hitters in that lineup, and Yu Darvish did it yesterday, and he did it convincingly, and that makes me feel good for the playoffs, to see Yu Darvish in a form like this, heading into maybe even a home series here for the wild card. That would be awesome if there was a home series for the wild card. I'm trying to pull up the exact numbers for Yu Darvish. I had this open earlier, but Darvish went 6 innings. He gave up 3 hits, walked 2, struck out 3, and he moves to 6-3 on the year. But again, anything that we get out of Yu Darvish right now is icing on the cake, because no one thought he was going to be back at this point. No one really thought that he was going to be rejoining the team. So this is bonus Yu Darvish, and he's making the most of it. That's a huge, what's the card in the wallet? What am I trying to say?
Feather in the cap?
Feather in the cap. There we go. That's a huge feather in the cap for the Padres. Yu Darvish being able to pitch in the playoffs for them. And let me shamelessly plug 12 games in October right now. If you're getting excited about the playoff run that the Padres may be on. I did a podcast a couple of years ago covering every game of the playoffs in 2022. So just type in 12 games in October, the number 1, 2 games in October, and you'll go through all those games. But why I bring that up is because Yu Darvish was a focus in some of those episodes. And Yu Darvish pitched, I always struggle with that word, pitched masterfully. I'm not going to use that word anymore. But he pitched great in the playoffs, and that's something that the Padres need. Now, someone else the Padres need is Luis Arraez. And we know last night Luis Arraez hit his knee, and it wasn't looking good. He had to be removed from the game later because of his knee being injured. And Mike Schilt was asked about that today. That was one of the topics of conversation. Here's what he had to say about Luis Arraez.
I see Luis Arraez in the lineup today. How's he feeling?
He's sore, but he slept on it. As you would expect from Louis, he definitely wanted to be in there. We didn't want to just put him in there for the sake of putting him in there, but got in today, got in early. Medical staff put him through the paces. Structurally it's fine, but he is sore. There's a little bit of swelling still in there, but he was able to move around, and the eye test, was passed by the medical staff, and so he's in there.
He's in there, Mike Schilt says. Some part of me wants to think that you have to protect the player from himself, and maybe it would be good for Luis Arraez to get a couple days here to kind of let that knee calm down, but it's not going to happen. And Luis Arraez is a much younger player than everybody thinks he is. He's been around in the league for just a short time. He's 27 years old, so it's not like he's got a 30-year-old's body like me, where I'm getting out of bed and my back is hurting or my ankle's hurting or something like that. So credit to Luis Arraez. He's going to be DHing tonight for the Padres. He's going to be leading off as well. And the Luis Arraez criticism I've seen all over the place. It's out there. I don't really get it, but at the same time, when you look at what he does, which is get hits or hit for contact, he does it really well. And I can understand during the regular season that it's not the type of hitter that you would want throughout a whole regular season. I personally want him because he gets on base, but in the playoffs, getting on base is so important. And I don't care how you get on base in the playoffs. If you get on base, you're doing your job. Now, I think I saw earlier today that he has 16, and Luis Arraez is in the cage on YouTube right now, and he's looking okay. But I believe he has 16 strikeouts on the year and 16 walks on the year, which is incredible that he's done either so little throughout this entire year. Now, so basically what Luis Arraez does is he either gets a hit or he has an out. And again, I don't care how you get on base in the playoffs as long as you get on base. What I don't get about these arguments is, like, you could strike out 200 plus times in a season and hit 30 home runs. But that works for you instead of a guy who gets on base, doesn't hit for power, but at least, puts pressure on the defense. I think that what Luis Arraez is doing for the Padres is absolutely incredible, and doing it 141 plate appearances came to an end last night without striking out. He's just someone that I think San Diego's the perfect town for him. We've talked about this. He mirrors Tony Gwynn. And so if there's any fan base out there that understands what kind of player Luis Arraez is, it is the Padres fan base, because of all the years that they got to watch Tony Gwynn do his great stuff. If you make contact, you can make things happen. You cannot make anything happen when you strike out. So the Luis Arraez slander, I want him. I will take a Luis Arraez single in the playoffs any day over a guy who's going to hit 30 home runs and strike out a bunch in the playoffs and not come through when you need him to because they're striking out. But that was Mike Schilt on Luis Arraez. He's back in the lineup today. He is hitting leadoff. Now, here are some of the other things that can really make a difference for the Padres in the playoffs, I think. Manny and Fernando together in the playoffs could make a difference. Manny was in the 2022 run. Fernando was not in the 2022 run to the playoffs. Now, Manny is healthy. Manny is hitting right now. Manny's playing good defense right now. Manny's in the perfect time of his season right now. And Fernando's starting to come together too. So if you get two of those healthy guys heading into the playoffs, they're going to do damage together. And this lineup is going to do damage. And that's not even saying, Jackson Merrill's not in the top part of the order, but Jackson Merrill can absolutely make a difference. We've seen it so many different times this year. Now, when you really want to talk about where the Padres are set up for the playoffs, it's the bullpen. The bullpen really, really can make the difference, and we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again this year after the trades were made for Tanner Scott and for Jason Adam and for Brian Hoeing. Jason Adam has been nearly as lights out as you can be as a reliever since he came to the Padres from the Rays. And now, when Jason Adam was acquired, I remember a lot of fans being very angry at the price that Jason Adam was acquired for. I can't even tell you who was in that trade at this moment in time. And I also think that Jason Adam has proven that he was worth the price. And we talked about it at the time. Maybe there were other teams that drove up the price. I don't care what the price was. You bought a good piece for this team. You're going to say something?
Robbie Snelling. Remember, one of the Padres' top pitching prospects.
There was a couple other guys too, but it was Robbie Snelling. We'll see what happens.
Dylan Lesko. Robbie Snelling went to the Marlins for Tanner Scott.
To the Marlins for Tanner Scott, which Tanner Scott, he struggled last night, but for the most part, he's been pretty lights out. Any of those trades that were made earlier this year, the Tanner Scott one, it's a rental. And I don't know that Tanner Scott's going to return to this team next year. So this is why there's importance on doing everything this year. They made all the moves to go into this year, hoping to make it the year that they go to the World Series. And I was reading what Matt Snyder said the other day. I was reading ESPN this morning, and a lot of the baseball experts think that this may be the year that A.J. Preller has actually tinkered to the point where he's tinkered into a winning team. And not that he's done it like, just putting things together and hoping it works. He's had a plan over the years, but this plan going into this year and this postseason has been the best plan that the Padres have had under the A.J. Preller, in the A.J. Preller time that he's been the GM. He brought in pretty lockdown relievers on top of the lockdown closer that you already have in Robert Suarez, and he's put them in a spot. This is where I think A.J. needs his credit. A.J. Preller has put them in a spot to win in the postseason. He's put them in a spot to have a really good shot against the top teams in the National League. And so now it's on the team. I mean, what else can A.J. Preller do? He has brought in David Peralta. He's brought in Donovan Solano. He's made trades for Tanner Scott, Brian Hoeing, Jason Adam. What else can he do except for kind of sit back and see what the team can do in the postseason? We talked about Robert Suarez earlier, and so I looked up the other closers in the league. And with Robert Suarez, getting the save last night, kind of going back to where we have seen him throughout most of the year, he did, did he blow he blew the save on Sunday against the Giants because they ended up tying the game. So I went through and I wanted to look at different blown saves categories and the top closers in the league. Emmanuel Clase for the Guardians. He's had 49 save opportunities. He's only had 3 blown saves. Ryan Helsley, 48 save opportunities. He's had 4 blown saves. Kyle Finnegan for the Washington Nationals, 43 opportunities, 5 blown saves. Now here's one right here. Clay Holmes for the Yankees, has 41 save opportunities this year. He's only converted on 29 of them. So 12 times he has blown a save this season. And then you go to Robert Suarez, who has had the 5th most save opportunities in baseball this year, and he's blown 5 saves. Some of them have come recently, yes. But what I'm saying here and what I'm bringing this up for is that over a course of a season, even the best closers are going to blow saves. And you can see that in Emmanuel Clase. He's blown 3 saves this year. If you look at other guys, Raisel Iglesias for the Braves, he had at one point had a crazy streak going on this season. He's blown 3 saves. Alexis Diaz of the Reds blown 4 saves. So Kirby Yates has only blown 1 save this year, so good for Kirby Yates. But these guys are the best of the best of the best, and each one of them has blown 3 or more saves this year. So when you look at Robert Suarez and you see him with 38 opportunities and 33 saves, I feel a little bit better about what's happened here recently. I mean, a season is going to come out to the averages. That's what baseball is. It's just a bunch of numbers that in the end will tell you a story. And if we were to look at the Robert Suarez numbers at the end of the year, say it ended today, And he has 38 save opportunities, 33 saves, 5 blown saves. I don't think we would blink an eye at the 5 blown saves. Now, I think they're just more top of mind as of late because they've happened. He gave up the grand slam to the Tigers, and then on Sunday he gave up the home run to McCovey Cove and Kayak Dave. And oh my gosh, I just realized what time it is. So I'm just blabbing at this point, but Robert Suarez is a difference maker. And last thing is Xander Bogaerts and his playoff experience is a difference maker. It does make a difference that you have experience in the playoffs, I believe. So that is the things that may make a difference in the playoffs. I didn't realize how long I went. All right, when we get back, we're going to hear from Michael King. He was with Ben and Woods this morning, so he had some fun things to say about his playoff role. Has he been notified of any playoff role? How has his season progressed? So we'll get into all of that when we get back here on 97.3 The Fan. Levs, Padres, Ecowater Padres SoCal pregame show on Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show on 97.3 The Fan. He is going to be up just shortly in about 15 minutes or so, and then you'll have him leading you up to the Padres and the Astros for game number 2. Took the win in game number 1, and tomorrow's game is actually going to be an earlier game. So if you're not aware, the game is starting at 3:40 p.m. tomorrow. And we will be carrying that, obviously, here on 97.3 The Fan. So a very, very, very short show with us tomorrow, but you will have Padres baseball to help you fill your time. I was just cruising Twitter and came across this post from MLB Network, and it was the Padres, as a team, have struck out the least in baseball this year. And so there you go. It's got to be some sort of strategy. And when you have Luis Ariz, who never strikes out, it's going to skew your number a little bit. So I understand that when you have some guy who doesn't even strike out more than 20 times in a season, it's going to make your number a lot lower. But this is a completely, again, different team than last year. A lot of strikeouts last year. This year, not as many. Getting on base, moving runners, doing everything right. So that number does not surprise me that the Padres are struck out the least amount of times in baseball this season. I want to make sure we get to this stuff, so let's get into it now. And Michael King joined Ben and Woods. Actually, it was in the dugout of Petco Park, the Padres dugout, and they did it. If you want to watch the video, go to 973thefansd.com or go to Ben and Woods on Twitter. They will have it for you there. But we have a couple clips we're going to play. And Michael King is... Will Myers was one of my favorite interviews of the Padres. Michael King has now replaced Will Myers as one of my favorite interviews because he gives you something. He gives you substance. And he was asked by the guys, which I thought was a really good question by them, what have you been approached... I guess I don't know the actual question, but it's about his playoff role, whether or not they've discussed with him if he's going to have a role in the playoffs.
Yeah, none of it has been fully discussed. And, of course, I mean, obviously I was a reliever the beginning part of my career. I obviously would love to start as many games as possible. I always joke to Ruben that I want to go 1-4-7 of the World Series. But, yeah, whatever they need me to do in the playoffs, it's all hands on deck. So we're just going to win as many games as possible when it gets that and throw whoever needs to be thrown.
And I should preface that with that was an answer based upon the first, the wild card series. So the 3-game series that they would have to play first. And what kind of role would he have? I wouldn't expect him. I guess you could make him a starter. I don't think he's going to be a starter. I think he's probably going to come out of the bullpen because you got Yu Darvish, you got Dylan Cease, You got Joe Musgrove. I don't see Joe Musgrove coming out of the bullpen, but I love that attitude. It's a great attitude. Whatever they need me to do in the playoffs, let's do it. That's the type of attitude this team has. We talked about it a little bit earlier about that sort of attitude being great for this team. But Michael King, I don't expect them to have any. I don't even really expect for him to say anything to us about his playoff role, but he's going to play a big role. One way or the other, either out of the bullpen or in the rotation. But we're going to see Michael King come in and pitch in big situations in the playoffs, and he sounds excited about it. That's another thing I like about Michael King. The guys also asked him about something that I always wonder, because here we are, we play we do the scoreboard watching thing in September. Do the players does he watch playoff teams? Does he watch potential playoff teams?
I think that everybody has it in the back of their head. Everybody knows that all we can do is go out there and win every game that we play. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't watching all the Dodgers games, all the Diamondbacks games, all the Mets games, and rooting for the other team. But not only that, I feel like watching all the Diamondbacks games is giving me a huge insight into their approach. Knowing that we could be having them in the first round of the playoffs, knowing that we could have whoever, Mets, Braves, we're watching all those games. And I think it ends up being something for us to just know what they're doing, how they're approaching these games, how they're approaching hitters, how I can approach their hitters, and it ends up being a positive for us regardless of outcome of their game.
Michael King, just like us. And I think Us Magazine, they have that little section where they're just like us. Michael King is just like us. He watches the playoff teams too. He watches the scoreboard, which honestly, I've never believed players that they don't look at the scoreboard. When they say they don't look and they're just focused on what they're doing, I don't believe them, because it's just human nature to want to look. I know on the PGA Tour sometimes when the guy's coming down the stretch, there was I can't remember which golfer it was, but they were trying to win their first major, and they did not look at the leaderboard on the back nine. They had wanted nothing. They wanted to know nothing about what was going on around them. And in the end, if they would have looked at the leaderboard, they would have known that they needed to get a couple birdies down the end, down the stretch, 16, 17, 18. And they said later that they would look at the leaderboard next time they're in that position. So I don't believe that athletes don't look at the scoreboard. And Michael King makes a really good point. He's scouting the teams before they actually have to play them. And so it makes me feel a lot more comfortable. He's locked into the season like we are. Now, his season has progressed, in a good way. He started out a little shaky, but the guys, Ben and Woods, asked him about his season so far.
I definitely think my command got better. I came out and in my first start walked 7 against the Giants, and I think that it wasn't as much a confidence thing as it was I needed to just attack with my stuff in the zone, and then I would be able to limit hard contact, because even if I was still in the middle of the plate, I was able to throw all of my pitches for strikes. In those first few starts, couple months, I was 2-0 to their best hitter, and then obviously I have to now throw a cookie in the middle of the plate, and me hoping that it's just a 110-mile-an-hour line drive at somebody ended up being a home run. So I think that me getting ahead of counts and being more confident in all of my pitches at any point in the middle heart of the plate will play better than being 2-0, 3-1.
Really good stuff there by Michael King. And he seems like a cerebral guy. He definitely thinks about things a lot, and he thinks about different ways that he can do things, and he's always willing to listen to feedback and advice. And to get him back in the Juan Soto trade was to know that Michael King is going to pay off for a couple more years to come. That is really all we can ask for. He's going to be pitching tonight for the Padres. He's 12-9 on the season. There was a trivia question I asked yesterday in Chris vs. the Fans. Name the 2 Padres that are top 10 in strikeouts in all of baseball this year. And the first answer was Dylan Cease, and the second answer was Michael King. I don't think any of us would have said that Michael King would be top 10 in strikeouts here this season, but he is, and he's been striking out a lot of guys, and he's been keeping guys off the bases as well. I went to that game when he pitched against Tyler Glasnow in the Dodgers. I think it was Luis Ariza's first home game, and he ended up walking it off. Michael King, you could see in that moment that this dude can pitch in very, very stressful circumstances And I have no issues with Michael King. I have full confidence in Michael King. Now, Astros are going to be throwing Hunter Brown. He's a rookie, as Tony said. He's 11-8 on the year. Not really sure. I don't really pay attention to Hunter Brown too much. I guess he's not a rookie. He's a young guy, but he has made he's made 28 starts this year, 3.59 ERA. I mean, basically anyone coming out of the Astros, rotation or bullpen is going to be good because they are a really good team. And the Padres are going to face them again tonight. Game 2. All right. I think I rolled through everything. Let's update you on some scores before we send you out to Sammy Lev and the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show. And by the way, if you don't know, Sam Levitt has a podcast, Inside San Diego Baseball. Sam's going to cover everything going on with the Padres. Find it at 973thefansd.com, the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your podcasts. So scores right now that matter to us. Oh, the Marlins have retaken the lead, Adam. Top of the 6th in Miami. The Marlins are up 7-6 over the Dodgers. Let's see, other scores that matter to us. The Braves are ending 5. They are up on the Reds 5-2 in Cincinnati. The Mets have scored some more runs, so it's not looking good there for a loss for the Mets. They are beating the Nationals 5-1 at home in the bottom of the 4th. And the Cubs, I mean, they're not really there, but they kind of are. The A's are leading right now in the top of the 3rd, 3-0. Now, the other one, Diamondbacks and Rockies, are just getting started right now, and those are the games that we really need to be watching. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. The Giants are up on the Orioles right now, 4-0 in the bottom of the 7th. I don't get the Giants. I really don't get the Giants. The Giants fans, all my friends up there in the Bay Area that are Giants fans are in the anger stage of grief for their season because they're very angry at Bob Melvin and they're very angry at Farhan Zaidi. And so we'll see what happens. That music means the end of the show. Thank you to everybody for listening today. Thank you to Dave for doing a Get to Know Dave for the first time in quite some time. Thank you to Adam for helping me out here in studio. We're going to be back tomorrow. Very short show. About 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so before the Padres game starts at 3:40 and Sammy Lev starts at 2:40. So we'll be back with you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Have a great night. Go Padres. And Sam Levitt is up next.